You are listening to On The Topic, and welcome to a very special episode. Maybe you're tuning in for the Halloween special, or maybe you're just listening as an interested person in paranormal stuff. I'm Dan.
And I'm really looking forward to another Halloween episode this year. They are the highlights of our podcast season. I really can't wait. I'm Alex. And this week, we're doing something a little bit different, Dan, aren't we?
We are.
Because what have we done for the last couple of years? We've been talking about this recently. Yeah,
so if you visit 2020, we did my and some of your personal experiences.
Yes.
In 21, we went across the UK.
Oh, we did, yeah. Hot spots around the country, yeah.
And last year's episode, we really honed in on our sort of home area, so Portsmouth, Southsea and all the surrounding areas. And it was a bit of a creepy one.
It was, and it kind of straddled folklore, didn't it? There were some aspects where it kind of called back to that episode, which was, I think, OTT number 4, is it? Folk Tales or something? It's one of the earlier ones we did.
OTT 2.
There we go. So yeah, it was a really good set of episodes. But this week or this year, we're doing something a little bit different, Dan. What are we doing?
We've got guests.
We do.
We're being joined by Southern Ghost Society. So we'll have Dan and, well, we don't know who is going to be joining him. It's going to be a surprise.
It is. But no, it's going to be good, and we've got plenty of questions from you, the listener. So over the last couple of weeks, we've been asking you what you want to know. Is there any burning questions in terms of, how you'd run a ghost? Is it ghost hunting? Would you call them ghost hunters?
Yeah, I guess ghost hunting or paranormal investigating.
Paranormal investigation. Let's
Either
call
way,
both's
fine.
Okay. About how they're run, any specific stories, and we've got some sound clips that we'll play back to the visitors very shortly. But yeah, it's going to be very exciting stuff.
Yeah, got some phenomenal questions, and we've even got a sound bite.
We do.
Which is kind of creepy.
It is. So, I'd leave the lights on for this one, listener, because I know I will be. Sit back, relax, because we're about to have a really interesting set of conversations.
Let's hope you sleep well tonight. Well, hello and welcome back. We've got Southern Ghost Society with us. If you could both introduce yourself, and how long have you been investigating the paranormal?
Well, okay, I'll go first, Andy.
Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Dan. I started Southern Ghost Society. 2010 was when we first formed as a team off the back of investigating with other companies and other groups that are out there. So investigating probably sort of in 2006, I would say, with Southern Ghost Society forming in 2010. Right there through to now, yeah. So it's been a long old slog. Yourself?
Yeah. I'm Andy. I've been investigating for probably not as long as Dan there, because I started at SGS, but went somewhere with another group for a little tiny bit beforehand.
Yeah, you cheated on us a little bit.
Yeah, sorry about that. So yeah, that was probably about 2011. So about 12 years.
It's a long time when you think about that, isn't it? Long time, lots of investigations.
Because I've been doing these investigations with you guys for about 10 years now.
Yeah, nearly from the start. Long. Yeah, a couple of years shy of the start of us. So yeah,
it's
interesting.
A lot of places.
Yeah, so many places.
So sort of just to latch on about you starting up Southern Ghost Society, you started up with Lee and your dad.
Yeah.
So my dad actually asked, what made you want to start SGS initially? Was it a personal experience, or if so, what was it?
So, personal experience from the start, but I'm 44 next couple of weeks. So
no way.
You don't look absolutely. Thank you very much.
I always thought he was our age, Alex.
If only there was a video, we get some audio. Yes, I'm 44 on the 24th. So my experience took me back to I was about 13, and it stemmed from there. An experience that happened away from an investigation, away from anywhere that I was expecting. Being a bit naughty, which I'm probably going to park that experience because because of sort of further down the line. But so an experience happened, and then I've always been scared of my own shadow. The family have always prided themselves on me jumping and me being a bit of a worse, very mouthy, but a little bit sort of jumpy, in dark spaces or not that brave. And then so the family got together one Christmas and found it funny to book me on myself, my dad, and my brother on a paranormal investigation. up at Tutbury Castle in Derby, and
Talk about a deep end, right?
yeah, absolutely. And it literally was 7 until 4 in the morning in a castle, and so they booked us on it, and driving. It literally was getting in the car and driving back from that. I turned to my dad and my brother and said, "We could do this." And he's like, "Listen, Dan, we've only been on 4 investigations. What are you talking about?" It was a tired, long conversation back from Derby. We were driving all the way home. It was snowing. But I said, "Listen, positioned in the right way, like we had the best night ever." However, I stood in one room with 30 other people in one of the most haunted rooms in the UK, if not Europe. And all I could feel was the person next to me breathing. And they're saying, Mary Queen of Scots was in here. She was this, that, and the other. But actually, and I felt the atmosphere of the room, but then thought that I'd like to be in here with 5 people, 6 people, rather than 30.
Yeah.
So actually, driving back, I said, I wonder if there is a group out there that don't look at putting as many people on an event as possible to make as much money as possible. Focus on the experience of the event rather than the money side of things, or rather than trying to cram as many people in. And I went home and researched for about it wasn't long, about 3 or 4 weeks. I went to research and spoke to people, spoke to groups, sort of went to met a few people, and just found that I was turning up with 20, 30 people in venues that were really small. So that was it. And then one day, Burslem Brickworks, which is right near our house, right in Southampton, it's an old brickworks, big venue. I emailed this woman. She was the only person to come back to me, and then she rang me and she said, okay, you can come and investigate. And she said, we'll give you a couple of weeks' grace to get a deposit together, which is perfect because we had no company, we had no society. It was just me and a really wacky idea. And she said, what's the name? And I went, Southern Ghost Society. She went, oh, I've heard of you. And then the blood must have rushed from my face because I was thinking, now I've just quoted someone else's company, So I literally came off the internet and I typed in Southern Ghost Society to Google, and there wasn't one. There's Southern Ghost Society Illinois, so it's a .com. But there was no Southern Ghost Society. There was Southern this and Southern that.
South Coast Ghost Club.
Yes, yeah. We were called all manner of things. But literally went on to domain names and bought southernghost.uk, everything I
Quickly
could.
grabbed it.
Yeah, grabbed it. And then, sort of secured the name and then released. I designed a ticket for the Brickworks. For Burslem Brickworks, our first ever event. Designed some tickets, printed them out at home, and just sold them to my mates in a pub, and just mates that were interested. It was the worst of it. We had no equipment, we had nothing. We were just a month down the line, and then in the end we went on to one of the companies and we bought some real basic equipment. And I just remember going out and standing up in front of people, but I was always confident of positioning it in the right way. So never try and say I'm this big ghost hunter. I've been doing it for years. It was all about come along, share the experience. This is my ethos. This is what I want to do. I want to get as little people into an area as possible at the cheapest possible price, and share our experiences. And I think that we've sort of stuck to that right the way through. And so that's what happened in 2010. But that's where we were born. That's where it came from.
It's phenomenal.
It's
I've never known that story.
Have you not?
No.
And now it's gone from sometimes up to 40 events a year. We've been on TV through twice now. Different podcasts in America, and that it's a hobby that's grown completely out of control. And how I'm still married, I don't know, because my wife is the most forgiving person in the world. But I'm here, there, and everywhere, just out investigating and doing things. But it's now a well-oiled machine. We've got a website that runs. People can buy tickets and. Just turn up and investigate. But that's the story of where we came from.
So this is what I was saying when we started the intro. You're non-profit, and that's what makes it nice. I've been on paranormal investigations of other groups where they want as much money out of your pockets as possible because they don't care about your experiences.
No.
I did. I'm not going to name the group, but it was on the HMS Warrior, and my dad's got this unique way of working the rods, and we got Jack the painter through, and it turned out he was this real thing. We'd never heard of him before, burning down dockyards as a Jacobite in the 1800s, I think it was. And he just sort of debunked it. It's a well-known story. And that was it. Like, we went off, we were so deflated, but actually, when we come to your events, you always listen, you're always interested, and that's always a good thing for us.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think it's the way it's got to be. It's about, like I say, it's about people sharing our hobby, and it's about people sharing what we do, rather than we're this big team that stands there and you come along and you're paying the money. It's never been about money. If anything, it's the biggest, but it's probably the one thing I moan about all the time, money-wise, about what venues are charging and what other ticket prices are. But yeah, it's...
And how to get the least amount of people in a location as possible.
Yeah, I think it's a massive problem for us, because I might put an event on which is maybe £38, and one of our competitors might put it on at 25. Well, that 25, that other company will take 40 people. I'm doing £38, but there might only be like 9 of you. There might only be 9 of us, like 2 in each area. Which, for anyone that's ever been on a paranormal investigation or a ghost hunt, the little people as possible, to really heighten your senses and really get the best out of the night. There's nothing better than sitting in a room or a cell or a tunnel with just 2 of you, For people that are interested, there's nothing worse for people that aren't.
Noise pollution, horrendous.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you adapt it depending on which location it is. So some, when you go there, like this can't take more than 15 people tops because of the contamination between it, or the size of it.
I've actually been on a venue where I had a walk around. It was a venue in Portsmouth. I had a walk around, and I thought I had more time more area than we did. So when we did the walk around and paid the deposit, she took us through different floors and stuff. And when I got there, it was all roped off. We just had one room upstairs, one room downstairs, and a cellar. And I actually phoned people on the night and said, listen, the people that I knew, if Andy would have been on it, I would have phoned him and said, Andy, turn around, I'll refund the money. I can't give you the experience you want. And when it comes to refunding money, I lose out on things like that because I've paid the venue. But it's not about that for me. I'd rather people not come along. And have it, or come along, or not come along and have a bad experience. I don't care about what people are paid. I'd rather just have people on it for the right reasons and for the right size. But there's been venues where we've said there's going to be 15, and then we get there and think next time it's got to be a 10. And and I think that's where I say it's difficult for us. Is someone might look at my website and think, God, they're expensive. Well,
or they sell it quickly as well.
Yeah, they sell it really quick. But they're really expensive, and I do get emails from public that say, "Why are you £20 more expensive than anyone else?" I'm like, "Well, come along, and you'll see. Or go with them, and then tell me how your experience was." But
I'd vouch for that.
Yeah,
100%.
Cool.
And how about you, Andy? How have you got into it, and has it always been an interest, or are you affiliated with SGS?
So,
kind of a professional capacity in some way.
So it was like a childhood interest for me. So I used to always go to the library and check out all the paranormal books, and it just fascinated me, this concept. There's a big mystery out there, and no one really knew anything about it. It was just lots of superstition and lots of stories. And I thought, there must be something to this. And eventually my girlfriend bought a ticket to Winchester Mansion with another group. And I went along there, and it was great. First investigation, we went along with like hundreds of pounds worth of equipment. Not even sure if we wanted to do it, but I thought, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. So I bought all the stuff from America, and we just went out there. And had a good night, and I had a first experience like on that night, but also the group was difficult. There was no control. Everyone was just running around and screaming. Right. So I thought, I really want to do this again, but I need to find somewhere with some people who want to kind of do the investigation and actually control it and know what they're doing. And that's when I went with SGS, and Dan's dad actually said to us on the night, he looked at us and said, "You guys don't know what you're doing. You just have that area down there. It's better than brickwork, so you can have that area down there. That's who it was. You just crack on there. We're going over there. Just do your own thing." I thought that's nice. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing, but it's lovely.
I actually said on the back of that story that I said if I would have found a group like the way we do it, Southern Ghost Light probably wouldn't have existed, because that's all I wanted was an area to play with my gadgets.
Yeah.
There's an area to go along and be able to not do what I want to do, but get involved where I need to get involved, but actually just being able to express myself in a way that I want to investigate their way, or I want to try it this way. But
and the whole team is interested in doing it. So there's not people going along just to facilitate, or there just to get people in the door, and then they can just sit in a room and just have a sandwich waiting for them to finish their thing. Everyone was involved in it and interested in it. It was everyone's shared hobby, which is pretty much what we say in each investigation. It's just everyone's interested in this and wants to get involved. And I think that's kind of what happens as well when we're investigating. It's not so much that we're kind of showing people what to do as trying to involve them and find out what they want to do, and then just kind of put that together with how we're doing the investigation that night. It's quite... You tend to go to them and feel like you're all working together, as opposed to you've got members of the public, team members. There's kind of there's a bit of a blur in that you end up naturally then end up people who just tend to go to all these ones,
Yeah.
and you end up with this kind of little core group who just goes to everything. And I don't know, it's quite a nice organic way of growing.
Definitely.
But over time, I just kept on developing different bits of kit, which I was interested in, the things I was trying to learn about the paranormal. And at some point I thought, this would be quite useful to kind of share amongst the whole team, so it's not sort of me and my girlfriend doing this. I thought, let's get some more data out there and get more people involved. So I was at this party with Dan and waited until we'd had a couple of drinks and said, do you mind if I put a wrist recorder on everybody who goes onto the investigation?
Yeah,
It's fine.
I love it. I just, for me, running it a full-time job with a wife and 2 kids, it's tough, It's like I say, there's 1,000 members that, are emailing all the time, different venues, trying to juggle everything. For Andy then to step forward and go, let me monitor these events for you. I was like, absolutely.
That's an absolute dream, isn't it?
Yeah, rub my hands together. It took a big weight off my shoulders. So being able to sort of investigate in the way we do and set up the way we do has allowed people like Andy to come on board, and it's made us stronger. It's made us stronger than... there's not one... everywhere, every venue we go to, we sort of share how we record and stuff. There's not many that turn around and go, well, that doesn't seem very good, or I wish I had an Andy and Beth. A lot of people do
I
say
hear that more.
I wish you were involved with what we do, which we're forever thankful for as a society,
It's an interesting segue because Dan will go on your events and he'll come back and say, I've just done this, it's this, that, and it puts hairs on the back of my neck because I guess I was like you, which was, I'm a bit of a scaredy cat, but I'm obviously interested in what Dan does in his spare time.
I've tried to talk you into these things, but you won't come.
Maybe in a couple of years. But I mean, I don't have a particular view of what an investigation looks or feels like, and I guess perhaps that's what some of our listeners are more kind of keen to understand. So what you kind of given an idea about your ethos and your philosophy, perhaps, but what would not a typical, but what would an average kind of night or event look like for someone who's kind of going on one of these things?
I got a brief overview when I came to Knopf Fort in Dorset. We came really early, actually, and you sort of took us around. But, yeah, I suppose from our listeners' perspective, what does that entail?
So there's so much work that goes on behind the scenes, and I think that it's great to have myself and Andy here tonight because we'll give you two different answers to that. Because I think that from a research point of view, or from a prepping, from a research and getting ready for an event, and for me, it's the beavering around and getting set up and making sure the insurance, the risk assessment. So for us as a group, when I research a venue, we do use things like Most Haunted and the TV programs, which have got lots of stigma attached to them in terms of the way they investigate and stuff. But for me, when we first started, they were imperative because they would be a TV program that would flash up floor plans and give us ideas of investigation.
Oh, wow. Okay,
I use those. I would almost skip through and say, right, okay, we've got the opportunity to investigate.
Already got your
this.
research there.
Absolutely, because it was there. And then you'd watch it from a... And Andy always says that, I always say, no matter where people go, what we'll do is, how can I split it down? In your opinion, how many people can go in that area? That's the way I always look at some. So for me, it's about, so from a planning point of view and what people can expect is the work that I do is I'll go in and meet the person or speak on the phone if we've never been there before. I have to conduct a risk assessment. We're insured to up to £5 million, I think it is now per venue. So we're fully insured. The risk assessment's done, and then what I look at is, so from a costing point of view and a ticket point of view, I look at the least amount of people or the most amount of people I think I can take, splitting. We always split into 3 groups, building permitted, split into 3 groups, move around 3 times. It's an age-old, whether you investigate with us or with anyone, it's a standard format. Half an hour break in the middle for tea, coffee and whatever people want to do, and then we go back out again. Normally sort of trying to thaw out, it's freezing, so we're normally there trying to thaw back out again. So on a standard investigation, there's 3 areas. We normally arrive there about an hour to an hour and a half before. I'll go through, we'll look at acoustics and how sound carries. So for us, it's big about noise pollution. So let's look at, it's not just how we can split a venue, it's actually how we can split a venue with the least amount of pollution. So
sometimes we test that as well. Like you go to one, you say go upstairs and stomp around a bit and see if we can hear you down here, so we know that if one team's going to be up in that area,
I see,
the other team needs to be further away.
So, and then sometimes we think, right, well, the building's square and there's an upstairs and downstairs. A lot of groups will go into 2, one upstairs, one's downstairs. We might go into, we'll go to 2, but then we'll say, right, you take the left-hand side building for the half an hour, we'll take this, and then we'll radio through, and then we'll sort of swap over. It's sort of activity permitted. So, what people can expect on our investigations is come along. We meet and greet people at the door. They'll come on in. We do like tea, coffee, refreshments, and so on. We do a welcome meeting. We don't ever do a history tour, or we don't ever do a tour or a ghost tour as such, like this person did, because we want to try.
This is where you sort of hang man just in that corner over there.
Yeah, we want to try and keep it as authentic as possible. Can't stop people researching it. When I put it onto the website, there's this ghost here and that ghost there, but actually we don't give names or occurrences and so on. We might give someone, if the venue is huge and we're relying on people navigating themselves around, then we may give a bit of a tour to say, right, area 1, area 2, area 3, but that's we're going to do a welcome meeting, so we just sort of introduce people. What we do as well is, whether it's your first investigation or whether it's your 100th investigation, we have a team leader kit box which contains almost one of each, or probably two of each equipment that we use. So one of my team leaders, me and a team leader, we split down into the 3 groups, and then we'll talk you through each piece of kit, so how it works, why it works, what sets it off, what doesn't set it off, what we're looking to do, what we're not looking to do, how we're going to be using stuff. So we try and... It's about you coming on an event and not feeling like an outsider. So I want to try and, rather than go into an area and go, right, that's fashion, and I want people to say, actually, Dan, that's fashion because that's red and that's got hotter, or that's gone blue and that's gone colder. So we try and make sure that every single person at the event has a base knowledge of how we're going to be setting up, and then general health and safety, and then we go out for about an hour and 15, hour and 20 minutes, depending on the time we got in the venue. And then we go out and investigate, and then we set ourselves up, making sure everyone's aware of the equipment we're using, make sure everyone's comfortable with what we'll be doing, give a bit of a brief tour of the area we're investigating, do a bit of a sound check to make sure we're...
Feel where it's I'm going to say feel.
Yeah.
Sometimes you kind of go into an area and you wander around a little bit, and then at some point you go, yeah, this feels like a good place to spot. Oh, someone else said, like, oh, this feels weird. You think, oh, me too. Let's stop here.
Yeah.
Isn't it weird? You get to a certain room and there's just like this weird vibe. It's almost like, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like pins and needles on the back of your neck.
We call it Spidey sense.
Yeah. Spidey sense. It's one of our favourite superheroes.
Well, there you go.
We always say to people as well, listen, you're in the most safest environment to say you're feeling something, or you're getting a name in your head. I always say to people, well, if you're standing in a pub and you suddenly shout out the name Pete, people are going to look at you like you're mental. But actually, in here, if you get a name coming to your head, or you get that sort of spidey sense feeling where you think, oh, actually, like whether you're experienced or non-experienced, you'll walk into a room and think, this doesn't feel empty or doesn't feel the way it should feel. Use it.
That's exactly what you're looking for someone to actually say.
Exactly, because that helps us. Because remember, we have castles, prisons, dungeons, tunnels that
huge areas.
People go, where are you going to start? And we've got our preconceived ideas of where, if we've been there before. But actually, we don't want to lead too much. So actually, we don't want to discount an area because it wasn't active last time.
Or the other point is that even though we don't share the history with people, myself and my partner put a lot of work into actually researching the history of the place before we go. Mostly, so if during the night something comes up, a name comes up, for example,
you can validate it.
I can validate, and then maybe kind of help edge the questioning towards something which would validate something that happened in the past. So, see if the questioning can be steered towards a date or an event or something without actually saying the answers.
Yeah.
It does feel a bit like a game show sometimes.
Really
to do that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does. But it's just so much easier to say 1934. Come on, but it's they're edging towards it and they're getting nearer, and it's fascinating when that comes up.
I guess it's a form of trying not to contaminate the environment, right? Because you don't want someone to be steered in a particular way, or you want them to come to those conclusions.
Yeah.
I think that sounds quite authentic as an experience, because I mean I've got preconceptions, but I mean what you see on TV, and you kind of like, well, I know it's for TV, I know I'm an audience, but you do feel as though people are led in a direction and they come to a natural, logical conclusion, and actually sounds like you're letting people have whatever event they want, whatever they craft. You're just giving them the tools and the safe space to do so.
Absolutely.
I think we were talking about the kit box earlier as well. That it's not just stuff that beeps. It's kind of, there are some more spiritualist focused things.
Tell us about this kit box. I'm intrigued. What's in your box of tricks?
Wow.
So
Dan, tell me about rods and
tricks,
stuff. But what's in there?
Yeah. So there is a couple of dials and rods, and we keep a glass there for using the spirit board if people are interested in doing that.
Yeah.
Which not everyone is, and some people don't feel like they're comfortable with it. Some people do, and in the right environment and control from the team leaders to kind of put people in the right direction, then it tends to be fairly safe. Yeah. Anyway, but moving on from that, then we have some EMF meters, like a K2 meter, and
these measure like waves, don't they?
Electromagnetic field. Yeah. We always say that from a K2 meter point of view, to bring it into the real world, it's a similar sort of technology that an electrician will use to find a wire in a wall. So it's trying to pick up a current. So I always try and bring the equipment away from this sort of ghosty world into actually what's this used for in the real world, or what this sort of technology would use. And so that sort of equipment, it's picking up a current, it's picking up an EMF, it's picking up an energy. That's what we meant by sort of EMF and that.
But likewise, also you use that to baseline when you're walking around the room.
Sure.
At the start, when you're kind of looking for where you want to stop, you're doing this as well to see if you can find any junction boxes or switches or server rooms or all manner of things. Just so when you stop and you put it down, then you know there's an anomaly because it wasn't there before.
It's a lot more than turning lights off and dressing up in white sheets and chasing each other.
That would be easier.
It would be a lot easier, wouldn't it? But there's so much more. I guess, going back to the original question, that's sort of what someone would expect. But then obviously you do your research, don't you? So Andy will look into the building, the venue, the history, from anyone associated with the building, won't you?
Yeah, but we kind of... Yeah, there's two different types of history when it comes to paranormal investigation. You get paranormal history and actual history, and the paranormal history is like all the stories which have kind of led people to think that it's haunted, and you have actual history, which is then things you can find in newspapers, and sometimes they match. Quite often they don't, but that doesn't actually mean that one thing is more true than the other, and that's what we tend to try and look at without steering it towards it. But when the name comes up, like the painter fella,
Jack the Painter, it's you'd follow that train, try and get some more information about it, but I'm not sure if Dad knew about him before or not. No, we didn't know anything.
So yeah, that's paranormal history has met real history there.
Yeah. It's always the wash-ups as well, because of course when you've got three groups where you're not talking to each other through like each break, you get to the end. If you get two groups that say the same name, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, now that's really cool.
Even cooler is when you get that across several investigations.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
So one thing we do, which is definitely different to what I've seen in other teams, is record everything per investigation, so then we can do these cheat sheets and then see what we covered last time, what information was there last time, and so if we get again and again and again, we can see a bit of a pattern. One thing we've introduced fairly recently is just recording snippets of random information, so like dates and names or events, just so then we can go back, we can see if we're hitting the same notes again and again for places we go to do like 30, 40 times.
Because you might go there and get random, from random numbers or a date, and you think it doesn't match any of the research, doesn't match the venue where we're at. I think one of the good things we had the name. I'm not going to say the venue name, but we had the name Elizabeth come up, who was a lady of the night. But actually, we were at a venue where it was known it was a war venue, so it actually didn't make any sense at all. First time it come through, we were like, okay, well, it doesn't make sense from where.
Yeah, I think you were talking to some soldiers.
Yeah, and then suddenly this someone came through, and it was on a board, and I'm sort of standing there making my notes and writing Elizabeth down and dates and what she was doing there, and then it wasn't for probably about 2 years afterwards. We're doing another board, and the only common denominator was me, who I don't touch the board. I'll set it up, I'll do the open, and I'll make sure it's all safe and ready. And I tend to maroon myself from it. Actually, it was myself and Heather, and Heather was doing the board, but she wasn't involved in the first session. And then the name Elizabeth come out, and I was like, "Whoa, cool. That's like we've had this person come out 3 times." Now, there's no Elizabeth in any history books, any records. She wouldn't be from her profession and what she'd been doing down there. And she told us about she's come down and visit the sailors or the Navy men or the Army men. She's come down, and but so she would never be in the history books. But
But we've caught in the same room.
We've caught her in the same room over. Once on the rods, twice on a Ouija board over the space of 5 years, but you can't get that from any history book. There was no comment. There was no one else on the investigation. I went back straight away and thought, right, because we keep a record of everyone who's come. We've got all that. So I went back for that name there. Nope, they went on it ticking people off to make sure there's no one sticks through the net in 5 years. So things like that. It's just about keeping as much data as possible.
We're trying to get better at that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Spot all the dates. I think we kind of they're hard to remember. Like that date keeps coming up in the same room.
Yeah,
you wouldn't really remember that.
No. But then we're recording that now, so we can always go back to it and say, actually, 1835 came up before. Well, there's got to be some sort of correlation because that's the third time we've got it in this venue. So there's a lot more that goes on than, like I say,
and then you use that sort of thing. So you kind of look at what was going on in that building at that sort of date, and you go back and then you start talking about those stories, you start talking about what was happening there, and then seeing if that then helps progress.
Yeah.
Almost sounds like there's an element of like detective work.
Absolutely.
Because
very much so.
You've got to go there, you've got to try and get a connection or something. I don't know what the terminology is, connection or...
Yeah.
I say communication.
Yeah, communication, whatever, yeah.
Something,
It's interaction, it's
There's
communication.
an intent to reach out. And then afterwards you've got to go and, well, what's this all about? And is there something in the history books or the census? And I think that's quite interesting. There's a number of different kind of facets of an investigation that I never really appreciated. Because again, I haven't been on one, and it might be after today I might do.
Excellent.
I think you should.
I think you should.
But it sounds really interesting because you're not just turning up and having an experience and saying, right, see you later. It's actually, there is a story here and we want to learn more, and if you want to, you can. And I think that's so interesting that you can try and find about these lives.
Yeah.
It's not just about the night, it's about afterwards, which I think is a great aspect.
I think naturally when something, what we think might be supernatural, we try and debunk it first.
Yeah.
You know, if you hear a noise, okay, what could that be?
Oh, I see.
And if you can't figure it out, then maybe it is. But of course, that's where Andy's equipment comes in.
And that's what you do when you review it as well. When you go back and so there's. Let's talk about the sort of the setup maybe then.
Yeah.
So I mentioned that all the team leaders wear these audio recorders, but apart from that, we also have audio recorders in some buildings, like every room, as well as outside the building, and on these data loggers we use. So each team then has a data logger which records constantly the different environmental conditions, as well as, again, a control outside the building. So then after the investigation, all that is synced up, all the video that we've captured and audio, and during the night on these data loggers, we also flag when something happens. And it makes it easier for people to record that because you just click the button, you say, I've just heard a noise, and that's all you have to worry about doing, as opposed to writing down time, who, all this stuff. It's just you can keep moving almost. When I'm doing it, I just click and say a little bit, and then we just keep going.
But that's been brilliant, isn't it, from an investigator, like, talking about bringing that into the real world. So Andy and Beth did that for us, and it's fantastic. So we've got the whole place locked down. We know who's moving where, and what we like. I say, it's not just about the team leaders being locked down. There's been many times where we've mic'd Dan up, and we've
you
mic'd,
trust me.
You know, we've mic'd loads. We mic as many people up that are comfortable enough. But there's been times where I've sat in a room and I've been calling out, so I've said, listen, you know, I know that there was one space, for instance, there was a nursery upstairs. So I said, listen, if is anybody here, you know, the typical anybody here, can we make a noise? And suddenly I had the like footsteps above, and straight away as a group we were like, oh my god, like, I'm like, calm down, like, if that's you, make a bang. And again, the bang happened.
Okay.
So it's coming from the room upstairs. So as an investigator, right, okay, guys, we need to try and have a look or whatever. So we press the button, record it. And then, so we sort of carry on, and we were able to do that. I did, because the noise was so brilliant and it's so responsive, I left. So I left the room, up the stairs, into the room, no one there. Came back down and said to the guys, no one in that room. Right, so we know, so from an investigation point of view, we're buzzing, because we've asked something to happen. At that point, I've pressed the buzzer, say, Andy, footsteps in nursery. And then, so that the button is a data logger. Andy then goes back and listens, and he knows that everyone's mic'd up. Unfortunately for me, my beautiful brother had a thought that no one was investigating the nursery, so he'd put a voice recorder in it. So he's come across the wooden floor, put a voice recorder in it. I've called out at the exact time, but on the floor below, any footsteps. He's gone in to put a voice recorder down, and the two occurrences have just corresponded. So Andy's gone, listen, absolutely caught the footsteps. It's your brother. so that's another way that it's not just about trying to dine on different experiences, but it's ruling out stuff that we know is not paranormal. So it's caught some brilliant stuff for us, but it's also debunked quite a lot of stuff for us as well. So we're not just about saying, right, they're footsteps. Everyone heard a footstep. Everyone goes home happy. We're able to go, listen, we know we heard footsteps, but at that time, and I wouldn't have seen the voice call. By the time I went up the stairs and round, he'd gone the other way. So we just like two ships that passed in the night. I'm thinking I've got the best evidence I've ever got, and then Andy ruins it for me the next day by telling me. But it's good, because then we're looking at real experience. I know you said about looking for the. I mean, probably one of the cheesiest things I say in an investigation. We're looking for the normal before paranormal. So we need to look at what could it be. What could it be naturally? Is it the heating turning off, so the radiators are rattling as they're wooden flooring as someone scraped a chair. And it's once you sort of sift through that, sort of to try and find the little gold pieces, like trying to find that 20% or that, actually, do you know what? We've looked at everything it could be and it's nothing. Then you investigate it rather than 100% everything's a ghost, you know. And yeah, so I think that the way we record, the way we data log, it's been vital to us to the sort of to be able to with confidence say this is a Class A bit of evidence, or this is definitely paranormal,
and also where it happened.
Yes.
So another example. So same scenario.
Yeah.
So in the room, people were in there. They heard footsteps in the room above. Though no one actually went this time to go and check it out. But because I've got an audio recorder in there, everything was synced up. Went and checked. There were no footsteps in the room above. So people heard the room above, someone walking on the floor. Room above, nothing at all. So those footstep sounds were only in the room they were in, but they just sounded like they were coming from the ceiling.
Wow.
Odd, isn't it?
One of the most mind-blowing experiences, I'd say, that we could never explain. It was definitely paranormal. I was with Lee and my dad, and we were at the secret location.
Yep.
Obviously, I can't name it because otherwise I'm going to destroy
It's the
any
worst kept
prospects.
secret in
It is.
the paranormal
We want to go
world.
back there,
Yeah, I think we're back there next month, aren't we?
We are, yeah, the 14th.
So we went in, we put a cat ball down, and it just kept going off. It didn't stop, it just kept going off. So Lee picked up the cat ball, turned it off, put it back on again, and it stopped. He went, well, if that was you, can you do that again? And out of nowhere, this ethereal female voice went, no. And we were like, what? I think this was sort of like all the good equipment you've got now.
Yeah.
But it's a shame we didn't have that stuff at the time,
Yeah.
because to pick that up, that would have been phenomenal.
And Dan, when you say a cat ball,
Okay.
is this official
It
kind
literally
of
is a cat ball.
It is.
paranormal investigative tech?
So we spent the first 5 years with ping pong balls, tennis balls, bouncy balls that were sitting there going, did that move? That's definitely moved, hasn't it?
Right.
But actually, because it's dark, and we did some glow in the dark ones, and we're still, because you've got your torches and stuff, they look like they're moving about it. And then someone came on one of our investigations, and it's the first time that I ever saw them, but they are cat disco balls. So they are a ball with a button on the top with a circuit inside.
And a little tilt sensor in there.
tilt sensor. So the moment the cat hits it flashes.
Yes,
So
yes.
it is a cat ball. We need to think of a better name, Dan, for it. But we're trying to think of a more technical name, but it is just a cat disco ball. But
it's simple
they're vital
because,
for us. Yeah, they really
any kind
do.
of slight movement, no matter how much, I guess it picks it up. And
It takes a lot to make them flash as well, doesn't it? Like, we've stamps around them, we've done everything we possibly can to try and make them go off, to try and explain it, but actually...
And to be honest, I don't think the movement is even a factor with these, because we were at the Groundlings Theatre and we'd set up those cat balls around the room, and I'd brought along these little rings that someone gave me to actually hold the cat ball so it can't move, and then pop them underneath the cat ball so it was perfectly stable, couldn't move at all, and they were still occasionally going off down the side of the room.
wow.
At the same time as other things were
But they are cat balls.
beeping.
So we do need to think
Cat
of a more
balls.
fancy name. Yeah.
This is probably a nice segue for equipment. We actually got a voice message from Alison.
Yeah.
So let's listen to that now.
What is everyone's favourite piece of equipment to use on an investigation?
I'll go first then.
Yeah,
So
go on.
I honestly don't investigate without my data logger. So for me, the thing I'm trying to do is understand conditions that occur during paranormal events, and if those events have any impact on the conditions. So for me, that's the whole purpose. I'm really doing it, and then trying to capture then evidence which then matches up with it. So I have a data logger I wear on my back, which is like a backpack, which has also got a built-in audio recorder and a night vision camera, as well as the sensors which tell me what the conditions are currently, which means I can just wander around and do what I need to do and capture the data I'm after, but don't have to hold things, which is very important in the dark.
Yeah.
I mean, Basil and Brickworks is pitch black
Yeah.
sometimes in some areas. I fell over twice this year when we went, I think it was January or February we did it. That was really cold as well. So
We're back on the 2nd of December. I think we're glutton for
Yeah.
punishment because we've got the something in February, then not December, and it's freezing.
It is so
Such
cold
a
in there,
cold
Alex.
venue. But
And
yeah.
there's stairs down from the top of Widley as well, where for some reason the bottom one's not painted and the rest are. So the amount of times I've just fallen down that
sucked
last
it down
stair.
there. Favourite piece of equipment? It's changed, I think. So I would, again, don't really go anywhere without a voice recorder. There's so many times where when we were first starting up, that I'd gone, right, I'll go downstairs and I'll go and put a camera down, I'll go and put a voice recorder down, I'll go and put a chair down there or whatever, and I've walked down there with no recording equipment, and I've heard something, or I've heard a name, or I've heard something, and that so a voice recorder. Although I've sort of evolved in working with Andy now. Andy builds so much equipment. It's going to be a shameless plug for you, Andy. But,
we'll talk about that at the end.
builds some amazing equipment that measures everything from temperature and stuff. And I think for me now, anything that almost correlates what you find. So if you've had Andy work on a piece of equipment where it will detect air pressure and then a temperature gauge, and then you're sort of seeing a couple of things go off at once. And then you get a piece of activity, so you hear a footstep, we hear something. It's actually trying to sort of say, actually, well, we know on this one occurrence we caught footsteps, but exactly the same time the air pressure dropped.
Right. Yeah.
And there was this. So actually, to answer the question, it's a voice recorder, but actually there's nothing better, is there, when there's several pieces of information.
Preponderance of evidence, where you've got lots of different types of things going off at the same time that are indicating there is a change there which you can't really see quite often.
Yep,
Andy's gadgets. They're probably my favourite. You might remember this, Andy. We did Dorchester Shire Hall, and I was acting as the judge.
Oh, that was
we
an
put my
amazing
dad
session.
in the dock. And I was sort of pretending to, sentence my dad, you're a thief, blah, blah, blah. And everything was going off, and we just couldn't figure out why.
Love it.
It was really bizarre. So obviously you had the air pressure, you had temperature, magnetism. And what's the other one?
There was a vibration one.
Yes.
But mostly I think in that session it was this temperature sensors either side of him as well. And the questions were relating to kind of getting support and helping him out. And that's when you were getting these things going off around him as well. That was a great session.
I'll flip the question. What's your least favourite piece of equipment? Because I will answer that for myself. I'm going to say the Ouija board, because you really have to trust who you're on there with. And the number of times I've sort of felt myself on the board with other people, you can just feel them manipulating it. I'm not a fan. So for me, it's the Ouija board.
Okay.
Mine, I think maybe it's along the same lines as you, is something where you have a human factor.
Right.
So if you're trying to dig down into something, you kind of want to remove as many variables as possible. And if you have a human factor in there, you kind of almost have to think, what is going on here? You're not only able to trust, but it's sometimes not even a trust thing. Sometimes it could be a subconscious thing that the person wants something to happen and they make it happen. So
it's like emotionally driven.
Yeah, exactly. Just like catching a ball, you're not really thinking about it, and just like you're moving that glass. But ones are, I don't like pendulums.
I like the crystals.
Tell I tables. That's my least favourite.
Oh, like table tipping.
Yeah. So table tipping is basically 3 or 4 people get around a small table and they each hold a side of it, and then they ask for the table to move, and then the table starts moving and rocking, and then the bit I don't like, apart from the human factor, is that you're not really gaining much in the way of communication there.
No.
You're just gaining an experience, which is good if that's what people want to go for, but if you want to investigate, you want to try and gain some knowledge from it, and you're not really gaining much apart from this table was moving. A rocking table, which may or may not be the people involved with it subconsciously moving it, or being even influenced in moving it.
It's quite a dull thing to do, I think. I've done table tipping. It's never really been with Southern Ghost Society. It's always been other groups, but I'm not a fan of that either. What do you think?
Well, I guess the challenge is you can't kind of derive any kind of intent from that. It's just it's binary. It's yes or it's no. But actually, it's
something or nothing, isn't it?
Yeah. Why are they doing that? And what's their story? And why are they choosing to communicate as opposed to just moving a table? So it sounds like a rudimentary kind of Ouija board, but on a more simple scale.
Yeah,
less communication.
Movement or no movement.
Yeah. Out of interest, piggyback off just having a think here.
Answering that one.
Oh, yeah. But 2, yeah.
In that scenario, you talk about being in this courtroom and Dan or his dad was in the dock, and there's temperatures. Were they cold or hot?
Mostly hot.
Wow, okay. Because usually, and again, I'm coming from pure layman's perspective, so apologies if I'm insulting you, but you tend to hear of being icy cold and temperature drops, not heats up.
Yeah.
So, and I wonder whether that's something which you can kind of debunk for our listeners, perhaps. Is it the things which we hear about which are true or commonplace, or actually is it things that tend to be the opposite? In that scenario, it's not cold, it's actually warmer.
I think it can be both.
Right.
Because you think if somewhere is suddenly cold, that means that the heat in the area has gone somewhere.
Yeah.
So the common conception before was that energy was being taken from that air in order to use that energy for something else.
Sure.
Energy is such a generic term that in that case that you'd think you'd have to transfer that heat into some other form of heat or some sort of motion potentially, or you could be looking at a draft. So it's getting cold one place because it's getting hot in another. The heat is transferring one spot to another. So quite often with a number of different temperature sensors, you can see again cold there and hot there because you're seeing some sort of motion in the air, which if you can then link to the temperature in the room and the outside and
the other data points.
you go, the air wasn't moving there, but for some reason you had a movement in the air. So I felt very, very cold environments. Sometimes I've had something like an aircon unit just blowing in my face. But that doesn't to me necessarily mean that there's energy being sucked from it, but maybe something's moving away.
Right. Interesting.
Yeah. We talk for hours on this.
Yeah.
You could really could.
So we'll move away from equipment and we'll talk about locations. So my dad asked, what's the most haunted place you've ever investigated?
So this is twofold because a typical Andy data.
I've got data for that.
Andy's got data. Andy's got data.
Weighted data.
Yeah, I think we've got. It's a strange one because some places we visit just once, some places we've been there 10, 15, 40 times, so, but you have got...
And you get kind of quality of events as well. We categorise, every time someone clicks, we categorise that event. So ignoring debunked things and ignoring things which we haven't caught, they're kind of thrown out. We end up with A, B and C. C being we can't explain it, we can't debunk it, but we can't also prove it's paranormal. So it's a thing that happened. So that's the lowest class. B is we can't debunk it, but it seems unexplained, but we've got some ideas about what we want to do next time. So we want to try and experiment, see if we can figure it out, look for radiators, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Or A, we've tried everything, we've gone to the location maybe a couple of times, there's no other explanation, this is unexplained. And so I've taken those recorded events and given points, so 10 for a Class A, 5 for a Class B, and 1 for Class C, and then put them against the location, how many things happened. So we end up with a league table of haunted locations. They're interesting. I've also got a league table of claims. How many places have got lots of claims compared to that? And they're not the same.
Interesting.
No, but not.
Yeah, but number one was the secret location.
Yeah.
Just because of the amount of A's that we've had there. But then we had like Fort Widley, and strangely, quite far up Woodchester, strangely up the list was Towers Hospital, which we only did once. That was in Leicester. And that had so many Class A things happen that one night with everyone. It's a shame that you can't do it anymore.
And when you look at that, bear in mind we've been to Widley 40 plus, 46 times. 46 times. We went to Towers once, with Towers being number 4 on the list. Shows how much we caught in one night, and it got knocked down. So no one will ever go there again.
Yeah.
Never be investigated again.
I would vouch for the secret location as one of the weirdest locations I've ever been to. And again, it's a shame I can't mention where it actually is.
But they can go to it if they go to the website.
Yeah, absolutely. Because
Yeah,
I saw an apparition in the height of summer. It was a really hot summer's day. This was like 2018, and my brother had his back to the corridor doors, and one of the team leaders come around. He's like, we're just about to wash up basically for a break, and say, bear in mind it's summer, the doors open up behind him. He turned around and he went, what the and I said, what's that, mate? And he said, doors have just opened up behind me, and they're quite heavy doors in those corridors. So I've sort of looked through the window and I saw someone walk past. I thought, I didn't recognise who that was. There was no distinct feature, so I sort of went outside. I've gone to look around, and you've looked down at me, Dan, and you went, you're right down there.
Yeah,
and I went, is there anyone down here? You went, no, it's just your group. And of course they're all in another room doing stuff, and I was like, well, I can't explain that. It's quite odd. It's such a brilliant location. And another instant, there was a door that rattled in a room where it was locked off both sides, and no one could get into it.
Crazy. It's a good look. Probably, It's probably
the amount of people have seen things there. I've seen this figure, a shadow figure, leaning back from the columns in the cells and then pushing back again, and managed just to get on video.
My dad saw this figure as well in 2014 when we first did it. It was just walking across the field. He said he can explain it.
Beth saw the same thing. She saw white plimsolls walking across the field towards the towards the...
I saw someone there as well, so that's probably why I put it on mine. I was doing a live stream, so my brother stood in front of me with a camera with a light, such a high-pitched light, looking at me, and I'm looking into the distance and doing a bit of an opening. And then I saw a person, a person by a tree. So my face sort of turns on live stream, and Lee's like, well, just do a bit of an opening because we're not allowed to record in there. And we come off camera, and Lee was like, what was that face for? And I said, I'd just seen a person there by the tree. And I went, the strange thing was, he was red. It was a red apparition.
Oh, right.
I said, it was really odd, really strange. But what was nice about it, then we went into the building because we went to meet back up with our group, and they were doing a board in classroom 6, in one of the rooms upstairs in classroom 6. And I whispered to Roger, who was there at the time, I said, I've just seen someone. I said, but it was a really strange colour. And then so Roger went, well, let's just ask. So Roger went to the board, sorry to interrupt you. Daniel said he's just seen someone outside. Was that you or someone he's seen? And it went to Y, it went to yes. And then Daniel was asked to ask what colour. And it went R-E-D.
No way.
And honestly,
wow.
right, they couldn't have watched the video because we hadn't posted it yet.
No,
we
no.
weren't allowed to go live.
It's a weird colour as well.
It's a weird colour. Like, you'd normally go, if someone was pushing it, it would be white or grey or something, and it's spelled out red, which was... So that's why it's probably one of my most haunted locations I've ever been to,
I
because
love
it's
it.
consistently given us activity.
And evidential as
Yeah.
well. So someone who worked there showed us this photo once where they were setting up for an event, and they took a photo of this reflective glass picture, and there's the picture. There's someone standing behind them, and this person had the keys to the building. They were the only person in it, and it's a secure place. There could not have been someone else in that building at all.
That's insane.
So it's you're getting paranormal activity from people investigating it, but actually people in normal walks of life who don't believe.
And people who work there,
Yeah.
then they still send videos like what has happened to this cabinet? It's opening itself up.
Yeah, we get lots from that. So yeah, that's probably the one secret location, which is tickets available on the site if anyone wants to join us.
There you go. Go have a look if you want to know more.
What would you say your top 3 locations are?
Top 3 locations.
Obviously, we've got like the data
Yeah.
version, but from your personal experiences, Andy, what would you say your top 3 are?
My favourite is Woodchester Mansion, because it not only was my first one where I got the first bit of evidence where I can actually just you can hear something there, which is good, but it's really consistent. You have things happening all the time, and there's such a variance in the things that happen, and it is data-wise that we get some really interesting data that's come from there. We've had bits of equipment which literally came from things we were doing at Woodchester. So, and it's a really cool location and totally away from everything as well. So it's really controlled. So it's a perfect ghost hunting place. It's basically this half-built mansion in the middle of Gloucestershire, where there's a rich family who were kind of religious outcasts and wanted to build their own conclave. So they built this mansion in a valley which was on the bottom of a mesa. So you literally can't see it for miles around. It's just hidden away. But then the guys built it, died, and then the family didn't want to finish it because they didn't have the money, so it's literally half built. So if you go in there,
Interesting.
you
It's a great
see
venue.
fireplaces like 30 feet up the wall
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they
'cause
haven't
they've got
got the
the
floors
floors.
there. It's but it's a beautiful building. It's just it's not yet finished. I'm not sure when they're going to finish it.
Maybe never.
Maybe never.
And is there any kind of indications to why perhaps there are activities there when no one kind of moved in or there wasn't?
Good question. So the nice thing is that it has precedent. So there was a mansion there before,
Right, okay.
and then a hunting lodge there before that. But also there seemed to have been a lot of interests that the family had, and they did sort of stay there for a while, which were a little unusual. And some were quite religious, and some less so religious. There's an interesting focus of the characters that are there and the stories that are there. But also it was used in World War II as a base, so
I
we've
see,
actually got some real things that happened. But there's loads of real stories there.
There is.
Monks were there, and one drowned in the lake, and then there was a jeep that Americans were trying out there, and that drowned in the lake as well. We don't investigate the lake. We should investigate that lake.
Yeah, I tried to go down there.
Yeah.
So that's one then.
Number 1. Number 2 for me, Preston Manor.
Yeah. I was about to say.
I've
Haven't
got
you
none of these
mentioned
yet.
that, Dan? Or do we not talk about Preston Manor? I seem to think
No.
one year we did.
Preston Manor's my number 1.
I've done Wimmering Manor.
Maybe it's that.
Yeah.
Never really experienced much at Wimmering Manor, although it's like supposedly one of the most haunted places in Portsmouth. But
It's the one where most people have seen things.
Yeah.
If you want to see something, Preston Manor is statistically the best chance of actually seeing something.
And what quality is that, A, B or C?
It depends on when you review the footage and see if you catch it. For me, my best thing I saw with someone else. Do you know the whole story? Yeah. So
let's do
we're
it.
in this bedroom.
This is Wimmering Manor, yeah?
Wimmering Manor.
Wimmering.
Not Preston.
I was gonna say.
We're in this bedroom, and then the whole group were in there saw these shadows passing by this door, which is lit up. So like someone walking backwards and forwards which would have been like this balcony over the front entrance. So I went, okay, I'll go around the side, find out who it was there. And I went around, and there was no one there. So my first thought was, something's breaking the light of the window. I stood there trying to figure out what could have been causing the shadows we were seeing. And while I was doing that, another investigator came up and stood there next to me. And we couldn't figure out. We're looking at lots of things. And then I saw... Well, I'm going to say, I saw Dan walk to the top of this staircase by an attic and stop and look down at us. And the investigator I was with as well looked up as well. And she said, "Is that Dan?" And I said, "I don't know, I'm going to go check." Because by the time I got up and went towards it, Dan had disappeared. So I went up this little staircase, which was about, 7-8 metres away from where we were sitting. And there was no one up there at all. And at that point, the attic door opened, and another team group leader opened at the door and said, "Has Dan just come by through there?" And she said, "No, Dan's the other end of the attic sitting on the floor with someone still." So I went back to all the audio and the footage we had, and audio-wise, I can prove no one was moved out that attic whatsoever. And there was no one at the top of the stairs moving around at all, even though we saw someone moving and this little torch. But my video, because I was looking downwards at this shadow figure, I shoot downwards, and between that 45 seconds I'm pointing down, this figure was standing there. Which is a shame. So it's an X class, because I can't classify it.
Yeah.
I've got no evidence.
It's an X.
An X.
Okay.
Missed.
So what's your number one? What are we going to go for then? You're going for...
So Woodchester's
Woodchester.
definitely. Preston. We were talking about Preston, weren't we?
Yeah.
Which is a really great building in Brighton.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's an old family. It's a fairly old manor as well. But the family kind of petered out during the First World War, and then they decided to give their entire house and all their possessions to the council to have a museum.
All right.
So if you go there now, all the sheets, the clothes, the cutlery, everything from the 20s is just preserved there in this little sort of time capsule.
As it was?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And there's like a picture as you walk into the threshold of the lounge, like it says 1934 or something, and you look at the picture and look up, and the only thing that's different, like I'm talking everything on the mantelpiece, is the rug, and they've imported the rug in, but the rug was anything that's different to the actual picture. Every ornament is still the same, every picture's the same. Do you know what I love about Preston Manor as well is she's got a seance room. She believed in what we believe in, and she held seances there. So she was contacting the paranormal and believed to be in tune with the paranormal back 1900s.
Yeah, it was late Victorian.
Yeah, late Victorian.
When there was a lot of seances.
So she was doing what we're doing. So I feel like we were just continuing her mission, which is great. It's attached to a graveyard, which is...
Well, yeah, and also with that seance room, they used to see this figure of a nun walking in the garden, so much they kind of called the road behind Nun's Walk. And during the seance, because it was called that, and there was a history of it, they came up with a saying the nun is buried in the garden. So they dug it up and they found a skeleton in the garden. But they still keep seeing the nun for ages afterwards.
Yeah. So yeah, you're number 2, my number 1. But yeah, what's number 3 then?
Number 3, I would say... I kind of like the fort, and I can't work out which one... I'm liking Purbrook at the moment.
Yeah, same.
Because
Purbrook's a great one.
Solid. We've got this, they're doing this ongoing experiment, which some people call the Singapore experiment for some reason or other. And that's where you play trigger audio. So specifically here, military marches. So I'll wander from the sort of base camp down to the areas we're going, and I'll play some military marches to sort of... I don't know, I think it's partly kind of builds up energy in the environment, but also gets the people who are investigating kind of in the right mindset. I think there's 2 components to it, but after that, we tend to have really good sessions, and sometimes get bits of random equipment going off in time with our military marches, which was amazing. And I was able to play different regiments as well over a period of time, and the stuff from artillery regiments, which makes sense for the fort, gets a lot stronger responses than anything else. Apart from French regiments, we tend to get hits with French regiments as well. But there was apparently French POWs there as well, so that sort of
Oh, I see.
makes some sort of sense.
So my three then, Preston Manor we've talked about.
Yeah.
Second one, I think it's Lancaster Castle. We had some really good stuff up there. Again, an old castle. It's the IRA men were kept there as well.
Yeah.
So quite a stronghold. Castle dates back to the witch trials, so really good. Really nice.
So near
venue.
the Pendle Hill
Yeah,
area,
right near
isn't
the
it?
Pendle Witches and so on, so that's good. And then my one, the third one's probably it's a bone of contention with this venue, but it's 30 East Drive. We've had it's a house up in Pontefract that we you can hire out. It's part of it. There's a film been made of it called When the Lights Went Out, and it's a 3-bedroom semi-detached house that's supposed to have a black monk attached to it, and it's a typical ghost venue. Whereas every team, anyone can book it, anyone go and do it. We've had some fantastic stuff there. Some
You
real
can book
good
it every day of the week.
You can book it every day of the week for whatever it is. If members of the public can go and book it, but yeah, that's one venue that, amongst all the controversy and amongst all the thoughts and feelings of the paranormal guys out there, we've had some stuff I physically can't explain there, and not so much to do with the monk, but voices, kids' voices and stuff that have been mind blowing. But yeah, they're my three, I think, at the minute.
And it's a weird location when you think about it. It's just a random house in the same.
It's
But-
a weird house, but
But kind of going back to the history, we used old maps quite a lot. I tend to start with maps, actually. When I start researching a place, I start with a map and go backwards in time to try and see if its name's changed, if its uses changed, what was there beforehand. And that's a location which has got so many layers of history of religious hospitals and Civil War battle sites and things like that. That there's lots of factors which could be in play there, that which, being in just a random house, you don't really see.
No.
Some of the locations we go to are completely different uses now, and you can't, like the secret location, it doesn't seem haunted at all. It seems like a place you would go for meetings and
It's just
training.
sort of
Yeah.
normal, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
I've also, from 30 East Drive, the house I'm talking about, I've got a video to back up my thoughts and feelings on it as well. So there is a video that we have on Facebook and on our site, actually, that shows you in the day a child's voice coming from a room where a doll kept falling over. So, and I've got that on video, and you can hear the audio, you can hear the voice.
Isn't there another one as well when you were sleeping, the door in the room just opened itself?
Sorry, Andy. When Dan was sleeping.
So it's a venue.
You stayed here.
So it's a venue that you
And you
hire
stayed.
from 6 until 12 the next day.
Yeah.
And the biggest mistake I ever did was saying I'm going to sleep there.
Yeah.
So
I
we-
could have told you that.
so I guess let's talk about it. We got there at 5 o'clock in the day. It's a fun house. So what I mean by that is, it's in the paranormal world. There is probably more people that hate the venue because of what the owners are doing in terms
right,
of
okay.
they rent out every night. They've made thousands upon thousands. Most haunted have been there, and
It's almost like an attraction.
yeah,
itself.
it feels like a bit of a fun house
Yeah.
effect. And
But it
so
must build up a lot of energy with people constantly in and out.
there are more people that have been there that got nothing. But I think that there are human factors in that. There is the normal factors you need to rule out. It's a 3-bedroom semi. There's a family next door. We were lucky enough for the first time we went there that the family were on holiday, so we had no one. We were sat on this sort of the house in the green, and we turned up at 5 o'clock, locked the door.
Watch the film.
Yeah, we watched the film and ordered pizza. But before we sort of did that, because the film is, like I say, it's called When the Lights Went Out. It's all about the black monk and the poltergeist. So you had to watch the film there.
Of course.
And then so we said, right, we're going to go live streaming from it. So we walked up the stairs, and as I walked up the stairs, to the left-hand side was the girls' room. There's a doll on the bed. There's a doll on the bed. So as I walk past, the doll falls over.
course
So
it
straight
does.
away, I go straight into the room, right? I lift up the mattress, I lift up the doll, thinking, is this some sort of, some
Could they have put
sort
something
of setup?
there?
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
paying a lot of money to be here for the night. Anyway, nothing. Took the mattress off, took the bedding off, put it down, put the doll back down, walked out. The doll fell over. So I'm thinking, right, wooden flooring. How much effort do I need? So honestly, we're trying to debunk it. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We're not really recording. I say to my brother, get your iPhone. So I say to the person, right, you've got my attention now. There's nothing natural here that's causing this doll to fall over that I can see. So I'm thinking it's you. So if it is you, I'm going to ask you after 3 to set this to knock the doll over. And you hear me go 1, 2, 3. So I stagger it, and on 3 I capture a little girl's voice that says, "It's too hard." Honestly, right? It's creepy as anything. It's 5 o'clock. I'll show you the video after this. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon. It's light. We have no ghost hunting equipment, and we capture a little girl that we did it on a show once, and the common consensus is too hard. You see me automatically run into the room and check the window, because the window was open. It's 5 o'clock in the afternoon on an estate, just to see if there's anyone in the garden, and there's no one around. And we capture this. This is 5 o'clock. I said to my brother, not sleeping here, and then not sleeping here, and then so. Another thing, you have to sign a lot of disclaimers to say that you're going to be there and all the footage belongs to the owner and so on. We go upstairs to the master bedroom and we decide to black it out. You're not allowed to touch anything, but we did decide, because we were doing a live stream from there and we wanted to start it early because the activity seemed to start. So I took the duvet off the bed and I tucked it in the curtains. And you're not supposed to. So straight away I'm thinking, right, if anyone quick I can do it. Suddenly you hear, hello? So I was thinking, oh no, like
rumbled.
So I'm
Someone's turned up.
I am literally taking the curtains down. I've made the bed again, gone downstairs, no one there. And when we went to the bottom of the stairs, the key was in the back of the door, so they couldn't have even tried to come in because we were locked in from the inside. So so we had loads of stuff happen there, and then throughout the night we caught all manner of voices. Andy was watching from home and you saw quite a lot of occurrences. We decided to go to sleep and set up a camera. So the two lads we were with, really experienced investigators, slept downstairs, and me and my brother slept in 2 separate rooms.
I mean, this sounds sensible, Dan.
It was hideous. it was hideous. I'll tell you why, because you lay there and think. So what I did is I got the rocking horse and put it at the top of the stairs,
of course,
which is right in my eye line. And then I'm laying there thinking, right, do I leave the light on? Because if I leave the light on, I can see what's going on. Do I want to see? Or do I turn the light off? Then I can't see. I'm going to hear noises. Anyway, throughout the night, they put the camera downstairs on the piano facing into the lads that are in the lounge. About 1 o'clock, about 5 o'clock, so about an hour into our sleeping time, you see the camera move to the right, ticks twice to the right, and then goes down, and then back up. And then when we first looked at it, it looked like it was trying to focus, but actually the clock on the wall went out of sight, so it wasn't focusing, it was physically being moved. We, the next morning, checked there was no vibrations, I wasn't next to a fridge that was setting up, there was no heating coming on, it was a standalone piano, which took the camera away from them. And then one of the guys of the night said they felt like they were pinched and not underneath the arm, but we didn't have it on recording because the camera had been moved.
Of course.
Like, literally to film down, and, we know what we're doing. The camera wasn't on a tripod that sort of drops down. It was literally the camera has moved down. But favourite location, really good place. But again, so many people have been there and said it's all hyped up. There's nothing there. But we had 2 or 3 nights there that have been amazing.
Don't fancy Alex?
That was my first foray.
It's a great first venue.
Yeah,
so you could do a podcast there. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, imagine that. We could do that. I could hire it for us to do a podcast.
So we've got a couple of questions from Luke.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, that's me. We've got, what is your favourite location in the Portsmouth area to investigate? So specific to Portsmouth, what's your favourite area?
My new one's Groundlings, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
That's a
I really
theatre
wanna go
in
back.
Portsea, right?
Yeah.
I've only been once.
Do you know, I've walked past it a couple of times. I used to have a friend who lived in that area. And it's... I got a vibe of it. I didn't know anything about it. And I walked past daylight, and a couple of times I was, wandering back to his. But you get a sense. It's one of those places that you run past. Does that make you sense?
Yeah.
Don't look in the windows quite.
No. Or the door. And you're like, I'm not going to look inside there. But it's one of the places that you run past. And I didn't know anything about it. I'm not natively from this area. I come from South Croydon in London. And it wasn't until recently when I spoke to Dan on every year or so on these episodes that it cropped up, and there's something about that place.
Yeah, it's a good place.
Yeah.
That's our last investigation, wasn't it?
It was.
Fresh
And
in your mind.
We'd done that before, but the last time we were there, we didn't really get much. This time, the amount of different communications to both teams was phenomenal. It was pretty much. It was one of those times when the time just flies by.
It was.
You think, okay, we did it a bit differently this time because we had a very small group, which was good. So when you had like 2 sessions, and that means you got at it for like a couple of hours, aren't you?
Yeah, it's hard.
But that couple of hours just absolutely just disappeared. And it was the end of the night before of it because we were so busy. I suppose sometimes you can be sitting around for hours and it feels like hours.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was an interesting thing with the Estes method, which I'm on the fence with the Estes method because I need more data on it. But I think this place actually kind of helped us build up some data. And the Estes method is... it's called that because it's where it was first tried in Estes, Colorado. And that's where someone listens to a radio with earphones in. And that radio is then set to just scan through the frequencies as if you were searching for a station.
Yeah.
But not stop. So it doesn't stop if it hits a station; it just keeps going endlessly. So
It's
you really
effectively scanning every single frequency that you could pick up that's in the air, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're going through all the frequencies where there's nothing, and occasional radio stations, and it just does that endlessly, but quite quickly. So like about 100 milliseconds per frequency to 150 milliseconds. So you're going. It literally sounds as you're going through lots of them. And what you then do is just stand there, listen to it, earphones, noise cancelling, so you can't hear anything else apart from this endlessly. And the job of the person doing it is literally just to say what they hear. Now, that could be radio stations or anything at all, or anything that might come through. And then someone outside that situation then asks questions. So we set up an experiment where we had someone asking questions in the theatre bit, and then someone with the headphones on, just to listen to in a dressing room, the other side of the top floor, and just coming out with whatever she was hearing in there, which could have been radio stations, for example, because it was going to hit some of them. But the things that were coming out were so relevant to the current situation and the history of the place and what people had been talking about previously in the other room. For example, there was 3 responses in a row, which were like dog walker and too loud and he's a thug. At the same time as I heard someone walking a bunch of dogs literally just outside the window where I was.
Wow.
And then another bunch of answers which were the specific names of the people we were talking about historically earlier. And the interesting thing here is we recorded both sides to a good degree, the questions that were being asked, the answers we were getting, which means we'll be able to then do a scientific correlation, hits and misses, when the question made sense, when it didn't make sense, when it was linked, when it's not linked. And we've not really been able to do that before.
No.
And it's something, because it's such a new technique. It's only been, people have been doing it for the last year and a half, maybe. It's fairly new. And I don't think anyone's really focused on studying it because it's contentious. You listen to a radio, but we try and maintain an open mind with everything we're doing and actually look at it and go, is there something to it or not? So for me, it's a new thing. It was a new study. It's a new thing we can do. And it's a nice local place which seems to respond well to it.
And you've got those data points, so next time you go back, you can see, as you say, what the hits were and try and build upon that. Perhaps.
Exactly. And if we can find out the groundings, one reason I like the groundings as well is because we found a council pamphlet on the history of it, and it has got blow by blow every schoolmaster there, because it used to be a school, a beneficial school for children who were born from sex workers in the area. So they were just shoved into the school because they were feral before then, and they wanted to try to make use of all these kids who were just running around stealing everything. And there was a lot of behavioural problems there, and there was a lot of stories about things that happened. And it was a terrible location. There's lots of good history about what was going on, names, places, dates, stories, and I'm hoping we can pin down to some particular stories and then just focus on those again and see if we can build on that. And for me, that's kind of good. Everything then links together.
Yeah.
And if we can then figure out if there is anything to the Estes method process, that's also a bonus.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you, Dan?
I like the King's Theatre in Portsmouth. Haven't done it for a number of years, but it's a great venue. We've given quite a lot of exclusive access being a theatre, so I've done it probably 4 or 5 times. That was one investigation I did with another group, actually. That's one of the earlier ones we did. But the King's Theatre is a nice venue, and you get to go under the stage, on top of the stage, the dressing rooms and stuff. And we've had a lot.
Oh, yeah, up in the rigging, isn't it?
Up in the rigging,
in the
at
dark,
the top, in the dark, which is but a lot up of the rooms at the top. We've had quite a lot of activity from there. So it's one of my favourite venues that we don't, sadly, probably will never do again unless. Yeah, I email them probably once a month. I'm blacklisted there now.
I might have a contact. I might be able to get you back in.
King's Theatre is really good. Really
I'm there
good.
this Friday.
Are you?
Yeah, seeing a comedy act.
Oh, fantastic.
I will not be up in the rigging with the lights on. I might be able to do
under the stage was good, wasn't it?
Under the stage was really
good.
good.
And the dressing rooms there were
The
interesting.
dressing rooms were really good, yeah. So King's Theatre is one of my favourites in Portsmouth.
I'm part of a craft beer club, so someone that I drink with, I think he sort of helps operate the Kings.
Grand.
So I might be able to get you back in.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Thank you.
I'll get you in.
Get us back in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Us, as in you.
SGS.
Thank you.
Let's do it.
And as a follow-up to Luke, he said, is there anywhere in Portsmouth you haven't investigated that is on your to-do list, your hit list?
So, are we allowed to do it? Do we have to be allowed to? HMS Victory is somewhere would love to do. we're never going to get in there.
No.
So it's almost like my would love to do it, never get in
That's
there.
your unicorn.
Yeah, I think in Portsmouth, I think it'd be a venue where it's so steeped in history, so pivotal in British history. That'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, sadly,
I'll join you on that one.
I've tried, but HMS Victory is probably my Portsmouth holy grail. I think that, I'd love to do.
It's hard to do it with kind of the environment's difficult,
Yes.
isn't it?
Oh,
Wooden floors
Yeah.
everywhere. So again, you'll think you can't take a lot of people onto it, can you?
No, and that's the thing. I think we were having conversations about the Warrior. I know that you've done the Warrior, and the Warrior went from being one form of money, sort of in the hundreds of pounds, to they wanted £1,800, £2,000, £3,000, and we can bring 40, 50 people. I'm like, but we don't. I'd rather, I'm not going to charge everyone £1,000 a head, So
it's a small place.
It's a small place.
Sound travels.
The weather plays a massive part in that, with the wind and the rain, and you're in the elements and the creaking.
It's a working dockyard as well next to it, in the military.
Yeah.
You've got all sorts going on.
So Holy Grail in Portsmouth is the HMS Victory for me.
Mine's slightly outside Portsmouth, but
Okay.
We'll take it.
Spitbank Fort. That's not too
Yeah.
far away.
Yeah,
I've been to a couple of corporate gigs there, and walking around, admittedly, kind of after a few drinks during the Christmas parties, it had that Scooby-Doo feeling. The Spidey sense was tingling.
Yeah.
And someone I was with said that they thought they had me talking next to them, and I was not saying anything at all.
Wow.
And they said, "No, you've just been talking to me." I said, no. I avoided trying to fall over when in the dark.
So both, sadly, we can't get into, but
No.
Holy Grails for Portsmouth, I think.
So I need to put a bit of context on this, on football rivalry. So just to explain, I'm a Portsmouth fan. Alex, you're lucky, you're a Liverpool fan.
Yeah.
Dan, you and your brother are Southampton fans.
We are indeed,
So
yes.
anyone that isn't familiar, there is a big rivalry between our football teams. So I don't think when Chris submitted this question, he was quite aware of this rivalry. I mean, it's all
Unless
right.
he was.
We're quite friendly, we're sort of quite
Absolutely.
bantery about it, but there's some absolutely honking supporters both sides.
There
which
is.
Just take it too seriously. I mean, Lee's usually ripping out at me, so
Yes.
it's all good.
Yeah.
Chris said, if you got the chance, would you go to Fratton Park for the night? And I'll flip it around as well. Would you go to St Mary's as well to investigate?
I think I would because you think the amount of emotion that has happened there from any football fans, to forget about how the team are performing or what your thoughts and feelings are towards that team, the amount of emotion that's in there, the amount of time that people would have put, invested their time in there. Then of course, I think any football ground. I think thinking about football grounds, I did the tour of St Mary's with my son last Saturday, and we were wandering around. And no matter where I go, the ghost thing comes out all the time. And I was sort of saying to the security guard, because I know that in St Mary's there was an urban explorer that broke in there, and he was running around the place, and security were chasing him. So I asked him, tried to get onto the nighttime questions. So I said, "Oh, were you involved when the urban explorer was there?" And he sort of said no, but I know someone was. I said, "Oh, what's this place like at night?" Now I know that St Mary's was built on an old Saxon burial ground. So back when Southampton first moved into the stadium, they had a real winless streak, which in fairness is nothing uncommon really, because we're not the best of football teams. But they blamed
Stop
it.
smiling then.
You got relegated.
But they actually blamed that on the spirit. They blamed it on a curse. They actually brought in a witch to they actually brought in a witch to
Crikes.
cleanse, to sort of maybe put the Saxon. The Saxon
spirits
people,
to
the
rest.
spirits at rest, or just trying to cleanse the ground. But I got onto the question of what are these places like at night, and he straight away, as soon as you start to ask, he didn't tend to believe too much, but got onto a story of when he was locking up, make sure that they do have to do a walk every 2 hours of a football stadium, and they're sort of on radio, but they do it in silo, and then someone heard the turnstile go. But the thing is with the turnstile goes, the turnstiles aren't just to the outside now; they're shut down and shut down. So, and the turnstiles in the middle. So the turnstile flipped round one night. So got into the conversation with him. But haunted football grounds is a thing, and it wasn't until I started thinking about ghosts and thinking about football grounds and thinking about the emotion. Because when we do look at venues, we look at anywhere with high emotion. Sadly, anywhere where there's been a lot of death, or anywhere there's a lot of history, which tends to be coinciding with a lot of death. And with the emotional side of football grounds, there is a thing online where you can look at the 5 most haunted football grounds in the UK. So number 1 is the old Highbury, so the old Arsenal ground.
Yeah.
That there was number 1. St Mary's is number 2. Stadium of Light up at
Sunderland.
Yeah, that's number 3. The Majeski Stadium, Reading, apparently is number
Interesting.
4, and then number 5 is Stamford Bridge. So there is actually a poll, and actually if you do Google it, they tell you the story of why. So I know from a Southampton point of view and whatever, but there's actually some theory behind why they're haunted and why it would be haunted, away from the love and the emotion that us supporters put into it. Some of them are built on burial grounds, some of them are built on people that have passed away. A lot of the London stadiums, around the war sort of time and stuff, we use as different venues. So, but I know that Highbury now being number 1 most haunted place or football ground in the UK is now flats. So I'd love to try and find out whether anyone's living there now and experiencing paranormal activity. But But it's not so much a strange question because, like I say, the height of emotion that goes on when I watch my team or when I watch other teams, it's maybe even sitting at home, the emotion you go through that you can imagine on the stands. There's a lot of.
I wonder if there's another factor as well.
Go on.
Do you reckon it's a thing that sometimes people who are a big fan of a particular team, when they die, they would say, "Scatter my ashes on the pitch."
Yes, yeah. There's a lot of ashes. I mean, I know that. I think John, one of the old. I can't remember. There's like an association between some of the Soccer AMs. I think one of his dad's, John Terry, scattered his dad's ashes at the corner flag of Stamford Bridge. So there are people that have done it, and that's a high profile one. But I know that there are people
they're
that
graveyards. It seems.
Of course, it could be.
And only people who've just not got permission and done it anyway because they brought their granddad's ashes.
Absolutely.
So I think you have to go for a lot of red tape to get that.
You would, but you sneak it into the ground and you just score a goal. And you just
Keep it like a packet of crisps or something and just.
Or leave a trowel behind you as you empty your pockets. There you go, Grandad.
Yeah.
This was your favourite seat.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know what that goes on. I know that. Yeah. Can't imagine many football clubs being over the moon with you spreading ashes around. But
that sort of thing happens like Disney World, doesn't it, as well?
Absolutely does, yeah. But I think emotion of football, it would be a height of paranormal activity, I think. But so would I go to Fratton Park? Absolutely, I'd go anywhere. I'd investigate your shed if you told me it was haunted. I'd give everywhere a go once. Why not?
I'm not sure I'd want to investigate my own home.
We stay away from that. I must get, sorry to interrupt you, Dan, but I reckon I get 2 to 3 emails a month saying, help, my house is haunted.
That's interesting. Yeah,
and I always say the same thing. We're able to come in as a group of enthusiasts. We'll come in and we'll tell you, I always say to people, is it going to give you any sense of satisfaction that I've gone, listen to this. This is the voice that me and Andy,
is
Andy
it
and I
just
caught.
to kind of clarify what you're experiencing is real, or is it something that's in your... Because we have had some maybe pubs. There was a pub in Wales where the guy he wanted to live above his pub, but just things kept happening, and he just didn't know if it was really happening, or so much so he rented another flat and just was paying for this other flat, even though he had a home above his pub. So that's where we went in and just found that there was things happening there, and there was things that weren't happening there. So some things like in the basement where it kind of felt bad. There was some really bad street lighting and just huge amount of EMF coming from that street lighting. So, and there was a death chair as well. Yeah. Remember that death chair?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, about 3 seconds. There's apparently this chair which used to belong to someone, and it was up in the bar, and someone a regular died in it. And then after then, anyone who sat in that chair then had some sort of illness or something happened to them. So eventually they took it out of the pub and put it in the cellar. And then made the mistake of telling us that that's what that was, because then about 3 seconds after getting to that bar, someone was sitting in it.
Yeah, absolutely. In my local, there's a ghost clock that people have passed away under. So they took it down. The new owners have put it back up again, but it's still a bit of... I was in there last Sunday thinking, I'm not going to sit under it. That's much so.
Is that where you have to sit under the clock?
Yeah, apparently so, yeah. But homes are a real contentious because... Yeah, it's people's homes, isn't it?
It is.
Come on an investigation, you close the door, leave it, can't go home. If we leave and we've had all sorts of activity and stuff, it's... And
what we find is when we go to locations, say, multiple times, the more times you go to that, the more likely you're going to actually have something happen. I'm not sure if you get used to it so you know where to look, or if there's something they're trying to communicate with you, it gets familiar with you, more comfortable with you. So investigating it makes it more communicative and want to get more in touch with you. So if you go to someone's home and do that, then you're also going to have to warn them that this is likely to happen. It's not going to go away. It's probably going to get...
It's going to increase.
More intense. But you can relay the experience that we tend to have, that I've never been injured or hurt, or to be honest, even felt that scared. I mean, that sounds a bit bravado, but when you're actually looking for these things, you're not scared because you're looking for them.
It's a different lens, I guess, because you're looking for that interpersonal kind of reaction. You're not looking there for jump scares or for anything malicious. I guess you're looking for that genuine connection.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, so sometimes that helps as well, just to know they speak to us and the fact that we've not had any major problems and it's not negatively impacted us, that sort of helps as well.
Yeah.
Just kind of give them a bit of a scope about what can happen, considering what you see in films.
Sort of talking about the emotional side of things, Luke actually asked, given the stone tape theory and the idea that moments of intense emotional outpouring can imprint themselves on a building or area, why do we never hear of haunted football grounds? Well, we've already talked
Apart
about
from
that.
those five.
Being a die-hard Pompey fan, I know all too well the emotions that are experienced in 90 minutes of football.
Yeah. Totally agree. Maybe we need to look into that a bit more.
Yeah, I've seen in person some interesting experiments as well about actually influencing. I was once part of this experiment in Bodmin Jail, where the person running it said, right, everyone think of one word. And it was a group of maybe about 20 people sitting around in a circle. And she put an audio recorder in the middle of the room and said, everyone think of this, pick a word. Someone pick a word. And I said, bacon. And everyone then just sat there thinking about bacon and probably feeling a bit hungry. And then she'd pick up the audio recorder and start playing it back. And on the audio recorder, there was, and I kid you not, a word that was like, bigger. Quick like that. And it could have been anything, but it wasn't. No one was saying anything. It was completely silent, and that appeared out of somewhere, and it sounded a bit like bacon. So the question is, like, was there someone at the jail who said, "Oh, okay, you're thinking I'm going to say it as a joke," or did that group of people, because they were all thinking about this one thing, it manifested? Which is kind of like your question, like if you're all thinking about this one thing, can you actually create something that then is interacting?
Yeah, for sure. So next question, which top 3 experiences come to mind when you think about some of your past visits?
Okay. I'll go.
Okay, you're done.
So I think I alluded to this when I first started Southern Ghost Society. So this is the experience that I had, and I thought an experience question would come up. It always comes up. But I was 13 years old. I fished quite a bit. I bought a Black Widow catapult. A Black Widow catapult. It's a weapon.
I had one of those. They're cool as hell.
It had an armrest.
Yeah.
It was a weapon, and my mum said, "I will buy this for you for fishing," because
they were illegal in the 90s, weren't they?
Absolutely, yeah. So this was illegal. We got it from my mum's family from Southend, and we went on the seafront one day and I saw it and I loved it, and it had the holder in it was enough to hold bait, so it's perfect for fishing for me, really.
Right, okay.
Yeah. She made me swear that I would never take it out apart from fishing. One day, a friend saw it in the garage or in the shed, said to me, "Let's take it out," and peer pressure got the better of me. I took it out, went down where I live in Netley Abbey. There's an old ruins, a castle, and then the beachfront out to the water. So we weren't doing anything but firing stones into the water, seeing how far we were getting it. It wasn't towards cars, it wasn't anything, but it was always in the back of my mind. My mum said to me, "You ever take this, you'll never go fishing again."
It's just quite a well-behaved behaviour.
Yeah, quite well behaved, because we were firing into the water. And I remember...
Not each other.
No, absolutely not each other. I remember putting a stone in and pulling it back and turning round, and the castle's behind me. And as I turned round and looked up, in the doorway was a nurse, and she was holding a wicker basket with white linen in. She had a white hat with a red cross, a right sort of, what do we call that? What do we say? Like a bonnety sort of hat with a red cross in it, just watching me. And I remember thinking, I'm in so much trouble, right?
Yeah.
So I got the catgut. I got the catapult, sorry, and I just buried it into the stones, and we ran. Me and my friend ran, thinking, I'll just bury it and I'll run.
Did your friend see it as well?
I'm not sure. I've never spoken
to
to him about it. I mean, 13. You're talking 30 odd years ago. So
Get spooked.
So we spooked and ran, and it wasn't until we sort of got a good distance away. I thought, I've got to go get it back because Mum's going to notice it's missing. And then I wandered back towards it and picked up the catapult, looked up, and the door where I saw her come out of was blocked up. So there is no possible way this nurse was standing there. I remember she had a wicker basket with linen in the top. She looked like she was going to put the washing out. She was watching me.
I see. Yeah.
But when you go back and when you really think about this story, it was a nursing home, right? This place is a nursing home. They're not going to do reenactment days in a nursing home for the amount of people that are going to be in there that maybe are suffering from Alzheimer's, something like that are not going to react well to a nurse dressing up in period clothing. And to this day, when I go for a run down there or I go for a walk down there, you can still see this door, and it's got steps.
You always look, do you?
Absolutely. And it's actually quite overgrown, so you have to stand on the wall and look over now. And there are steps still there, but this door does not exist. It hasn't. It's a door that's blocked up when the castle was done.
So inaccessible.
Yeah, inaccessible. And that's what made me start. So from 13, that's what got me interested in the paranormal. But it was nice because I wasn't looking for a ghost. I was more scared that this woman was going to be telling me off or phoning
taking
my
your
mum
catapult.
and taking my catapult and getting me grounded than actually looking for a ghost. So that was my first ever experience. But still to this day, because of the way I reacted to her, and I remember looking, thinking, oh, crap, I'm in trouble here, and running from her and burying the catapult, that I did all that. It's not like, did I just see something? I'm not sure. It's dark. I'm in a ghost hunt. Are my senses heightened? This was broad
Something
daylight.
actually happened.
She was watching me.
And it's quite... I don't know if I'm reaching here, Dan, but it's quite nice that she was almost like looking out for you,
Yeah.
because she may have gone, what are you up to?
Yeah.
Boys will be boys, right?
Can I have an eye out?
And you had something that perhaps you shouldn't have had. She may have gone, I just need to just watch over
Yeah.
these guys.
She stopped us what we were doing. I literally picked it back up and I went back home and I put it back into my fishing
That's a
rod.
little bit comforting,
And
right?
I never took it out again. Honestly, never took it out again apart from fishing.
Her work has been done.
Absolutely. So yeah, that was probably my favourite. The voice at East, you said 3, didn't you? 3,
Yeah.
top 3. The voice at East Drive is another one. And I think the only one I have to mention, which I know people get really fed up with, we went to Venice. We hired an island in Venice called Porviglia.
As you do.
Yeah, as you do. And say we hired an island. It's a forbidden island. It's the Holy Grail. If you type into Google the most haunted island in the world, this comes up. And honestly, right. And it's unofficial. So I wrote to the Italian government and said to them, we're doing a TV show. We weren't, but I had a camera.
Yeah.
And I'd like to have done one,
Yeah.
And they said, no, you need filming. They said, there's wild dogs on there. You can't go on there. Blah, blah, blah. We flew to Venice one weekend because someone told me that they knew if you stayed in Lido, which is, you've got Venice, stretch of water, and Lido, you can walk up walk up Lido, and there's a fishing port where you can hire a boat from. So we did that, flew over there, cost us a fortune. Nothing. I even thought about swimming it one day. Anyway, the second time we hired a boat from the taxi driver called Luigi, for all things. We tried to get Mario, but we got Luigi.
Okay.
And he took us over there, and all the way over there he was saying to us, listen, please, you can't, I don't want you to go on this island, it's very bad for you, just have a look, take some photos, come back. He was I'll give you your money back, please. Like, it was really, and in the end he wouldn't stop his boat, so we had to he was doing loops, and I'm like, you need to stop. He said no, because it will curse my fishing. And they
Right.
believe this island. We were like I say, the government, I've got it in writing to say there's wild dogs on there, on there, and he dropped us on there from 6 until 2 in the morning. And we wandered it, and it's an old mental asylum. There are hundreds and hundreds of bodies. We put a hand in the soil, and it's human skull and bone.
It used to be a plague island, didn't
It's
it?
a plague island, yeah, and it's a leper island. Honestly, Google
man.
Porviglia. Honestly, right, it's
Wow.
creepy. Anyway, so from a favourite experience, we are the only people on this island. Absolutely, we walk into the hospital, we climb the stairs. This might be number 1. Climb the stairs, and we're doing an EVP burst. And so
An EVP?
An EVP, so electronic voice phenomenon. So what
Right,
we're doing is I've got my voice recorder,
Yeah.
and what we call a burst is what I'm doing is I'm asking questions but trying to get a response real time. So I'll say,
Oh, I see.
tell me your name. What are you doing here? Did you die here? And then
It's a response you haven't heard, but
Yeah.
it's just appeared on the recorder.
Yeah.
Sure. So when you're playing it back, although you would have heard it necessarily in person, there would be
So
something
you
there.
see, and that's what we're looking for. We call it an EVP burst because normally when we first started investigating, we'd have an EVP recorder, put it on there. 8 hours later, we'd pick it back up, and then I've got to listen to 8 hours
Yeah.
times 3 times how many times we've done it. So actually, we do these bursts now to try and react to something real time. So I'm standing there, and there's 4 of us on this island. I mean, on an island as well. We're in an old mental asylum. We're a top floor, and I'm standing there looking out, and I'm asking questions, and I say, what we're
And
there to do.
was that when you were live streaming at the same time?
We're live streaming at the same time, so we've got all these guys watching back at home. That honestly, it's the best experience ever. And I always say, but is there a way? Is there a way we can help you? There's certainly a way you can help us by trying to respond. And when I say, is there some way we can help you? We don't hear anything. So and then suddenly Andy's like, my brother's recording, and Andy said, "You've got to listen back to that." Like, bear in mind, Andy's in England, we're in Venice. You've got to listen back to it, and we didn't hear anything. So I'm just asking these random questions, and we listen to it back. And then when I say, "Is there a way I can help you?" we capture a voice. It's like broken. I would say like broken German. It says, "I want to get out of here." Right, and honestly, it's as clear as that. There's no,
man.
Yeah, you heard it on the stream,
Yes,
as well as through the audio recorder, but not.
you heard it. And if it wasn't for Andy, we probably would have picked it up because we were asked questions and we were listening back. But there could have been a time where I might have just switched it off and we might have gone off somewhere else. But Andy heard it real time, and again, that's a video that's on our website. Listen to it. It's for me class A. It's heard real time as well as,
and you didn't hear it at that
and
point.
we didn't hear it at the time. It's me and my brother and 2 other people. There's no public. There's no outside interference. There's no cars going past. There's nothing apart from us on this island. And I capture a voice in, I always say broken German, but it's a foreign, a foreign tongue that says, "I want to get out of here." The annoying thing is when we listened to it on the island, we thought it said "get out of here."
Right.
So
okay.
we were like, "Why do you want us to get out for?" Like,
it's like
we went
questioning to that.
the wrong track, and it was only when we listened back to it, Andy's like, "Listen, I think you said, how can I help you?" And it says, "I want to get out of here." And we went totally on, "Why do you want us to get out of here? We're trying to be friends. But we were excited about the EVP. But yeah, for me, again, it's a video you can watch on our website. It's for me, it's phenomenal. And again, there'll be people out there that say, "Oh, that's it's not. It wasn't." You see the reaction of us now. So we're talking 10 years ago, so I don't know, probably 6 or 7 years ago. But it's phenomenal. The venue is amazing. It's, again, I think when you look on any Facebook group, people put on there, "Where's the one place you want to investigate?" And it's like Alcatraz, Porvilla,
Eastern State.
Yeah, and you got like the American ones. People say Auschwitz and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's up there with the top 5. But if you type in most haunted islands, it's that one, and read the history. It's creepy, and I stayed there all night. It's amazing. But yeah, that's my favourite experience.
Yeah, mine. Nowhere near as difficult. There's no swimming across the. And so I quite like Preston Manor again because it just feels so homey. And there's this little cupboard in one of the bedrooms. And this bedroom used to be like a guest bedroom. There was one of the family members used to stay there. And one of the first times we were there, we were sitting in this room doing a little bit of calling out, which is where you either are just asking questions, or more usefully, if you're talking to each other about something, or kind of like Dan said, where you do a bit of role playing, where you're talking about a story in the past or enacting parts of it to try and get a bit of communication. And it was this video, so I was taking photos, and at the end of the session, Beth turned to me and said, "Was that cupboard open?" And I went through the photos and went, "No, it wasn't," when we went in. And then sort of cycled through and was like, "Oh, there it is." So then I looked through the video, and during that calling out, this cupboard door just slowly opens, sort of just until it's about full, one of the doors. So it was good we spotted it at the time, because then we walked over, and then like everyone in the team started jumping up and down on the floor around this cupboard trying to get the thing to open on its own, if there's any way. But the way it was sitting was kind of crosswise to the room, so the boards of the floor of the room were going across it, and it was sitting on there, so it wasn't actually interacting with any of the boards anywhere else in the room, and we couldn't get it to open. So first thing to do is then we spoke to the curators, or the security guard at the time, saying, "Do you ever find that cupboard door just swings open on its own?" And he said, "No, not really had that." I said, "Okay, but it's not been here very long." And which is odd, because the story is all this stuff was left behind. But occasionally they'd get donations from the local area, who were people who would say, "This is the same period, do you want this?" So it was actually quite new and added to that room, almost like it didn't belong there. What is it doing there? And someone was taking a look inside it. And after that point, next time we went to the location again, we focused on that. We had a camera on it all night, tried to get something to happen. Nothing happened. The time after, it did. It opened up again. No one was in the room at all, just opened up. And then the third time we had it was Dam's live streaming and standing in front of the cupboard talking about the fact behind me is this cupboard, we've had it open a few times, and then the cupboard just opens up behind him.
Wow.
And we've never been able to, and I've put vibration sensors on the top of this thing and in front of it, and we just can't get it to open without opening it.
Sure.
So I like that, because it's a physical interaction. It happens occasionally when we ask for it, multiple times. And there's a story behind it as well about why there's an interest in this cupboard. Yeah, so that's my favourite one.
Excellent.
Yeah. Do you want to bang out a couple?
Yeah.
Do you want more?
What's your...
So the second one, and I think it's because, again, it happened multiple times. Up in Fort Widley, there's a set of battlements which kind of run across the top.
Yes.
And it's got a fire step, and it's near the sort of parade ground area. And very early on investigating, I was up there with my partner, and I went off down one end and she was the other, and then she came up to me and said, I've just heard these footsteps walk up to me and stop. And then check back the video after we'd got home, and you can hear these sort of noises and then stop dead. And then she calls out to say, is someone there? And then you hear it moves away. So the next time we went, I went all out. I got a parabolic dish on one end of the battlements, put audio recorders every few metres down the entire length of it. Don't get anything. Next time we go, I think, okay, I'm a bit nuts last time. I'm going to put like one up there, and then I go and pick it up. And as I go pick it up, this parabolic dish, I hear someone coming up behind me, and I'm thinking someone else is just coming to join me and help me pick up some stuff. Turn around, and the footsteps I hear get faster. So it's like, and then so, and then I see some of the grass moving in front of me. And this is all on audio recorder, so I'll go and check the audio, and you can hear it. But the weird thing is it doesn't sound like someone walking across grass, because the top of the battlements is just grass now, it's just turf. It sounded a bit like kind of crunchy gravel. Mm-hmm. And then Dan asked the guy who's the historian, yeah. So we were in this noise upstairs on the battlements, and he said, well, in Victorian times it used to be shale lined on top of it when they were parading up and down. So we thought, oh, this is interesting. So we started looking at some of the history of the place and found a number of different soldiers who died up on that battlements. There was a few different people who fell off. There was one guy that was hit by lightning, someone who was pushed, and someone had their head caved in. So there's lots of suspects, which we've tried very unsuccessfully to communicate with anyone there. But every time we go up, spend some time up there. And then the last time I heard it was a few years ago, where we had a couple of members of the public with me as well, and there was like a group of us all heard these footsteps walking up to where we were and then walking off. So the interesting thing there is that we've tried to communicate, it doesn't happen, and the same thing keeps happening again and again, which lends to a theory of residual haunting, like a recording which is just keep playing again and again. But it isn't interacting with the environment. That sound is of the gravel, which doesn't exist anymore. No. So that sound is being replayed again and again. And then also, interestingly, mentioning the guy with the lightning, when I put the parabolic dish in the first time, there's the strangest noise at one point. It's just like this zinging noise that just comes out of nowhere. It's
wow.
Which didn't happen at the same time with the footsteps. It's slightly earlier on.
Sure.
But the problem is we can't get up there now.
No, not really.
They've locked it off.
Yeah.
Not really.
I'll get you up there.
Okay, nice.
It's not what you know, is who you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll go with my first one for my third one. So that's when I was at the Woodchester and wandering around, trying to hide from the rest of these people who were screaming and chasing each other. And we're trying to find a quiet spot. And I come near the door and think, oh, there's an area over there, this room that's next to the front door. No one's in there. I'm going to head in there. Because I kind of thought there were some people in there already, but it was quiet. So we walked towards it, and then I'm holding this camcorder, and then I thought, oh, hang on, there's a gate here. We can't go inside there. There's no way of getting inside this room. It was just full of rubbish, it was as well. So it wasn't even really a room. And I got that spidey sense for the first time. It was like, okay, this is a little bit weird. And I started still calling out, is anyone there? Are you watching me? And then at this point, I've got a camcorder with an earphone in, so I'm hearing what's recording. And I hear, Arthur. So I start saying, oh, is your name Arthur? Now, the weird thing is that was the name of my father, who'd passed not so long ago from that point. But I didn't actually relate it to that point. I didn't even think about that for some reason. And just start calling out. But then later on, researched the building, and one of the children of the guy who built it, his name was Arthur, but he died at a very early age. But you can listen to the recording now, it sounds like an older voice saying it, almost like it's lamenting that name or something. I don't know, it's a little bit weird. But enough to me thinking, oh, there's something to this. I want to know a bit more about it. So here we are.
Do you have a dream location? This is actually a question you sent in, Andy, before you knew that you were coming to...
Oh, I see. Is that what that one is?
Yes. Yeah.
I thought that was the I see, the kind of the one where you really want to go to.
Yeah.
So
a bucket list, I suppose.
Yeah. So I've got a friend over in Washington State, Bree Schrader, and she does a podcast over there actually, Boo Crew Case Files, and she does a lot of stuff on location. So occasionally I've like sort of joined her while she's actually investigating in this St. Ignatius Hospital, which is like an abandoned hospital, and the videos I've seen from it are crazy. One of them shows what looks like a doctor walking off a corridor into a room, and there's no one else in this building. And the amount of time she's gone there and just caught so many different sorts of things, noises, things you've seen, bits of equipment going off, and just keeps catching these things. I'd absolutely love to go check that place out.
Need an American talk, because mine's Alcatraz.
Yeah.
Someone like that, someone just deep history of violence, deep history of something tangible that you know who've been there. I think Alcatraz is probably up there maybe. There's Waverly Hills, there's so many places in America. They're so spoiled over there for amazing locations, but I guess we're spoiled over here about having locations close.
That's what when I'm speaking to people from the US, they always say, I would love to go to Fort Horsted.
Yeah, but they're lucky, aren't they? I think we're lucky that Fort Horsted an hour away, whereas they're trying to get from Alcatraz to the bird cage or something.
Or castles.
Like
they go, how many castles? And I say, we all live in castles.
Yeah.
This is all over the place.
But I think something like Alcatraz is mine. Alcatraz would be amazing. Again, not allowed in, but
no. So that's why it's a dream one.
Yeah.
When there's a will, there's a way, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
So Dad asks, what's your thoughts on what ghosts or spirits actually are?
That's a biggie.
It's a biggie. I don't know.
Maybe it's too biggie. Because I think we've talked about lots of different sorts of things. So I'm wondering if there's not just one answer. There's lots of different things to explain lots of different parts of it, and over time these things have just been grouped together. You actually see that with kind of claims where someone will say, I've heard of a kid called Emily, and we hear these footsteps, and some people feel like they're touched and their clothes are pulled, and they could just go, all these things are Emily, rather than thinking, there's several different things that you need to kind of investigate separately to work out if those are happening before you start grouping everything together. And I think that's what's happened with ghosts, is that you've got these strange, unexplained events, which then have said, I don't understand that, it's all a ghost. My partner Beth came up with this really interesting theory she told me about just earlier, literally tonight, which was fascinating. One thing which we keep getting is either names of people who were at our locations, or voices which sound like people we're with, or sometimes seeing people which are people in our team.
Like Dan, who's up in the stairway.
There's been a few times where Andy's
we've seen you
and heard me.
Yeah.
I've not only not been there, I've not been on the event, so I've been
not there at all.
Physically not on location.
Wow.
And
That's weird.
This is where Beth has sort of said.
Yeah, so it's a proposition is, if you had, say, multiple dimensions, multiple parallel
I
universes.
see where you're going with this,
Yeah, I like this.
And one parallel universe Dan didn't go to Woodchester Mansion that night, and this one he did. What if something happens at that location or that point in the world where you're actually seeing that crossover?
And it's thinning, and you
can just about see this alternative reality where we're actually just seeing Dan investigating the place, or we're hearing his voice, or we're hearing that calling out, and it's really just we're talking to ourselves, basically. I've actually heard my own voice on a TV show once. Do you remember that at all? It was like Ghost Adventures, and they were doing some calling out, and it's me. It's really weird. Yeah,
that's an interesting theory though, because it could be that we are echoes of ourselves interacting with ourselves. But you mentioned before, Andy, about kind of projecting or manifesting thoughts into some kind of physical kind of being or manifestation. I think that's quite an interesting aspect. I can see why it's a bit of a challenging question to answer, because it could be all these things, and conversely it could be none of them.
And that's the thing. People say to me, do you know what it is? No, I don't. I mean, I wouldn't be. I guess if we had this holy grail of a spirit we picked up or a ghost we picked up or something in the very beginning, would we still keep doing what we're doing?
Exactly.
We've actually done, set out our goal to try and find something. But there's a lot. Like we had a conversation in the car, didn't we, about residual hauntings, about intelligent hauntings, and how people get grouped into that. So residual is something that just happens. So just whether you're there or not, that lady's going to walk through the wall. That, you know, in Winchester, for instance, there's a lot of residual claims where they're seeing half soldiers, and everyone said, "Oh, because there's loads of battles that have happened there." Well, actually, from a residual point of view, these soldiers just walk in the old road, so all you're seeing is half of them, and they're not interacting with you.
No.
So the sort of residual haunting is something that's like a ticker tape theory, like a stone tape theory, something that's been sort of just replaying, and if you're lucky enough
just
to
recording
if you're lucky enough to capture it, then great, you've had an experience with them. Intelligent hauntings are something where you said knock this or do this, and you're actually getting an intelligent response from it. You know, they're the sort of two.
Or something moving.
Yeah.
It has to be aware of the present environment to be able to move something that's actually there at that point.
They're the sort of two. I guess they're the sort of two that we to investigate. And then
Yeah,
the third one propped up in the car on the way here.
I love reading about old ghost hunters, not like just, you know, in the 70s. Like ones that he did in the 30s. So I was reading Harry Price book, and he had a theory about revenant hauntings, which I'd say Preston Manor fits in quite well, or the movie The Others, where you have a spirit who's not repeating the same thing they're doing every day, but also not aware of anything that's going on in the present time. So they're there. You can pick them upon them sometimes, but not all the time, because they're doing different things constantly. Just
they're living their life. They're just not aware.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's how do you define? I mean, I guess the only way you define that is if, say, for instance, 3 o'clock, you witnessed, a lot of this where an older house where a woman walks out of a wall and walked into another wall. Straight away, you're going residual. It's not interactive with you. It's residual. But actually, unless you see her walk past the same time, the same thing, the same time, on the same day, so you go back a year later or whatever, and it's happened again or whatever, how often she used to do that. Then is it residual, or actually then are we talking? Was it
revenant?
It was revenant. Is she just doing the laundry, or he just doing the laundry, however the situation is, and you've been lucky enough to capture that, and it's not going to be there next year because she might.
They won't be doing
the laundry every week or every Tuesday or whatever, you know. So, can we ever answer that? What is a spirit? What is a ghost? Probably not really, but.
No, but we can chip away at it.
Yeah, and that's what we're doing. We're just trying to chip away and see what we pick up. But yeah.
I'm sure there'll be things that we'll never understand in this universe. That's the best thing about it.
I hope so. It'd be really sad if we knew how everything worked.
Yeah.
Definitely.
What would be left?
Weekend.
Yeah.
So this is quite a good question that Alex put into the notes. What top things should you not do on a paranormal investigation?
Yeah, it's just more from if someone hasn't been along to one of these things before, is there etiquette? I think probably the answer is yes from sounding, but is there things that you definitely is a no-no, either in terms of your preconceptions or the way you conduct yourself? Is there anything that you can kind of say, yes, if you're going to come along to these things, these are things that we prefer not to happen, either because of the experience, authenticity, or otherwise?
Now, I've got one actually.
Okay.
Singing a certain song by Ray Parker Jr.
Right, do explain. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, and
well, it's very famous 80s.
Yeah, so just humming or singing on Ghostbusters, like when Dan's trying to explain something.
Is this a bit like what was the episode we did? Coincidences. And I completely destroyed it, and I probably would have had my head caved in. Is it a bit like that?
Possibly.
What was it? What cover of the song?
Well, I can't remember.
I Did It My Way, Frank Sinatra.
Oh, yes.
I completely butchered it, but apparently in certain places in the world, if you butcher the song in karaoke, people will come after you with knives and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, it becomes murderous. No predisposition, and there's been murders all across the world for people singing this song where there hasn't been precedence before.
Wow. I wouldn't be here now if that was.
Don't sing Frank
Like a bit of
Sinatra.
karaoke, don't you?
So I would say sort of more do's than don'ts. I think come along with an open mind. I think do's and don'ts with this. Don't try and think like watch a TV program and think it's all going to happen. You got to bear in mind that from the Most Haunted series, they were there from a Thursday to a Sunday. You're coming along for me for 6 hours, where 4 of them were investigating really, or around 4 were investigating. Don't be rude, but I think have an open mind. I think don't take the building or the experience for granted. I think there's lots of do's, but I think that coming along with an open mind is massive.
Yeah.
You know, whether some of the worst experience we have is oh, I didn't even know I was coming tonight. She's brought me along, or she had a spare ticket, and then you just know there's a battle straight away. I don't want you to believe. I don't need you to believe. That we'll work on that throughout the night with the experiments and the different things we do. But just come along with the right.
It's got to be a neutral position, right?
Absolutely.
Because it works both ways. If you really do believe and you're going along, then you still don't. You need to have that open mind, because not everything's going to be a ghost.
No.
Yeah.
Just be willing to be willing to give it a go. Just be open minded with it. We're not saying you need to get involved in everything. You don't need to do a Ouija board if you don't want to do a Ouija board or the spirit board. You don't need to get involved in stuff, but just be there. Just give us a chance, because I think it's enjoyable if you go there with the right attitude.
I'd say also just be respectful of other people. Don't ruin it for everyone else. Don't throw things and say, "Oh, did someone hear that?"
Right. Okay.
It's just. I've been on a couple of investigations, not with you guys, but where I think we did the prison in Portsmouth,
Kingston prison. Yeah.
Kingston. Yeah, I think we did it in 2019, and someone was throwing stones at the ladder, and we're like, "Why are you in it? Why are you here?"
There's been a lot of times where I've turned around to someone and said, "Listen, you've paid £35 between the three of you. You spent the best part of £100 and odd pounds. You travelled here tonight. You're just laughing and joking. Why you should have taken that to the pub? Go to Westfield. You'd have a meal with that and everything if you wanted to. Just be there for the right reasons, I guess, and be willing to give it an open mind and give it a go and respect the building, and see what you get from it, really.
So we've got an interesting one, and I know Andy looked at this and he's reduced the sound on it and stuff.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts on Kelly's video? She said, "Oh, could you play them that weird noise video of mine and see what they think it could be? Still cannot work out what it is."
Just a bit of a flashback. We talked about this 2 years ago now, was it?
Yeah.
And Kelly sent us a video, and it put some hairs up on my arms. So hearing it again, thanks Dan, as I'm driving here, wasn't particularly great for my health and safety on the car. But
well, we've got an isolated noise, but we'll play the original clip, and then we'll play Andy's isolated clip.
Yeah, with adjustments.
Yes.
Yeah.
So. So just for a bit of context, she claims her kids weren't in the house, her cats were all in sight, and it was enough for her to get up. If you've watched the original video, she gets up, she goes to the kitchen door, she goes, "What's going on?" It's interesting.
Is it a cat, though? That's the question.
Well, the thing that caught me as well, because I after taking a look, because the original audio is a lot higher pitched, isn't it? But also seems got quicker. So what I've done in that audio is reduce the pitch. I didn't change the tempo to reduce the pitch. I got rid of the noise floor first, then reduce the pitch, and then I put on this filter. So I've noticed on some of the EVPs we get, or sometimes disembodied voices and footsteps, there is a certain band, quite a low band, between 400 and 550 hertz, which seems to be kind of quite predominant in these recordings. So for years, whenever I get an EVP, the first thing I do is do a bit of a boost on a graphical equalizer of those frequencies, and it seems to clarify, it seems to pull it up. So done that on there as well to try and get it a bit clearer. So after fiddling around with it, making it a lower pitch so you can sort of hear it, and then put it out there a little bit to a number of people who I talk to about evidence, to just kind of poll it. I like quite doing that. Whenever I've got a good bit of evidence, I chuck it out, see what people say about it, because that's a good way of getting different opinions. And there's been a real wide range of what people have been thinking there. One person thought they heard like a chanting noise. As one person said that heard a sentence in there, and a couple of variants of the same sentence. But most people said it sounded animalistic, like it was a dog or a cat crying, but which would make sense for the cats. But I'm sure that Kelly knows the sound of her cats.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, again, I'm showing my my lack of knowledge here, but cats are ultra sensitive to these things, right?
Yeah.
So if there was some noise or something, would they not have reacted at the same time as Kelly, perhaps?
My cat looks at nothing. It will sit there, and its eyes will just its pupils will dilate, and I'll be like, what are you looking at? It's kind of weird. But I think when I asked you what were your thoughts, you said it sounded like it was saying, "Why don't they let me leave?"
Yeah.
And the more I started to listen to it, I thought, have you influenced me?
Yeah,
hearing
that's
that?
an interesting
If
experiment as
you
well.
listen to that sentence now and then play the cleared up one, you'll hear that.
So say the sentence again.
Right.
But I heard nothing before that.
They don't let me leave. Why don't they let me leave?
I didn't hear it so much that time.
I didn't, but there's definitely a sentence structure.
Yeah, there is. It's like-
And I did think that the first time, but there is an animalistic aspect.
Yeah, so that's quite an interesting one. So unfortunately, Kelly, I don't think we've really got quite an explanation. But there could be several things it could be.
I think what I like from the video, is what I like about it is they get sent lots of audio clips, and from an audio clip could be anything.
Yeah, there's no context.
You don't see the situation,
You see
yeah.
her reaction. You see she responds.
legitimate.
To something.
And she gets
Yeah.
up and goes behind her. So that's interesting that she heard it behind her when cats
That's-
presumably are
Or
on
the
the
sofas in
couch.
front of her, yeah.
Yeah, so she reacts to the noise and goes towards it and responds to it. So that tells me that she heard this.
She almost seems protective of something as well.
Yeah, it's odd. What is
Oh,
it? We don't know. It's
yeah.
brilliant. It's been good to.
We've talked about some of our experiences tonight where we've heard things and we can't explain it.
Yeah.
That's a
good.
B. It's
It's a B.
interesting.
Yeah.
Need more work.
Yeah, unfortunately, she's moved out of that house now, so we'll never get
Or
any answers.
fortunately, depending on your outlook.
Depends on
Yeah.
your,
However,
outlook.
her husband now, before they actually got together, he used to do a lot of paranormal investigations, and apparently they investigated the house before that because there was always weird going-ons. And he showed me some of the videos. It must have been Christmas of 2021, and I went home with chills.
Did you?
It was so weird.
Amazing.
I'll have to try and get him on to a paranormal
Absolutely,
investigation.
get him to come
He
with
used to
us.
have all the gear, but he sold it. I'm
Oh.
gutted.
Shame.
We didn't need any more. You found it.
Yes, there we go. He's found the holy grail, hasn't he? So.
So I've got one final question. So this is Luke again. He says, is there a point where experiencing paranormal phenomena is no longer scary? I've had a few experiences and seen 2 full apparitions. I mean, that's the gold dust, right? And each time I absolutely shat myself. I'd love to go on an investigation, but don't fancy paying to leave halfway after crapping myself
Yeah.
and then paying for the dry cleaning the next day.
He's taught us all up, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We wouldn't let him leave, but I wouldn't let him leave if he came with us. We're
Bring spare
we're
tail
a lot
trousers.
more, we're a lot more grounded than just everyone running and screaming. I don't think there's ever going to be a time where something doesn't feel weird.
Yeah.
I don't think I get scared. So we're talking about this, sort of 13 odd years ago, where I was like, didn't want to go upstairs. I mean, we're talking when I was a kid, so we want to go upstairs on my own, stuff like that.
Now you wander between all the groups.
And now
most nights.
I've had to be brave. I've had to get myself, because I could be in one part of the building and someone will radio through and say, "Dan, can you come down here?" And I'm like, no, I don't want to. But you have to get to the stage where I wander around with no torch now. I just yeah.
And you actually get a lot of things when you
when
you wander
put
between
yourself in a
those.
vulnerable situation. Do you ever not get scared? I'd say probably not. I wouldn't say scared's the word. You always got to, your senses are heightened. You're in somewhere that's supposedly haunted and the lights are turned off. Do you ever not get scared? No, probably. I think there's always that height of apprehension, I guess. But I think using that emotion is good, and using your senses. I think if you take a venue for granted and you're a bit more chilled and relaxed with it, you could miss stuff. And if you are heightened and you are, respectful of the place, but a little bit, I wouldn't say on edge, but a little bit, sort of. I don't think it ever goes away. I don't think that weird feeling ever goes away.
No.
But if it did come with us, then we'd make sure we would manage that situation as well. It was not a case of just like everyone's screaming, you've seen someone, get yourself out.
Yeah.
For us, we'd spend the next 3 hours investigating and reenact it. Right, you go through that window, or you go through this, and you try and do this. So actually, he would be a part of trying to find out what went on, trying to reenact it. Rather than just run away from it and go home. I'd be really disappointed if that's the way we reacted.
But then again, like you say, it's kind of you look to the rest of the people you're with,
Yeah.
to how to react, and if most of those are then just kind of going towards the thing,
Yeah.
then I think it's a bit more secure and safe, isn't it?
And I'll bring some spare trousers if you come. Right.
Or some pegs.
Yes, one of the two. Yeah.
So Luke, if you're listening, you're always welcome.
Always
I mean,
welcome,
Luke's
yeah.
one of my friends, so I mean, he would always tag along with me and
Absolutely.
Dad and the rest of the gang. So it's always good fun.
Always welcome.
So where can our listeners find you? So websites, social media handles, and of
Yeah,
course,
so-
this is a good opportunity for Andy to plug his gadgets and his website and podcast.
Yeah. So we're www.southernghostsociety.co.uk. That's our main website. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, or X as it's known now. So
Twitex.
Yeah, Twitex. We're on all of them, and a lot of them are just at Southern Ghosts. So if you pop in that, you'll find us. YouTube's a really good place to go for us. We're trying to get more followers on YouTube. We can get 1,000 followers on YouTube. We can go live from our events every time, and it's a real good streaming platform. We can go live from Facebook at the minute, but because Facebook is all of our friends away from Ghost, and you get the wrong type of audience. We want to try and go from that. So at Southern Ghost, on all social media platforms is where you'll find us. Ask questions through the site. You can actually link on our site as well through our social media pages. So if you go to www.southernghostsociety.co.uk, you'll see all our social media pages through there, our video links and so on. And give us a follow. You can join the membership, so it's free to join us, and you'll get sort of updates on events and sort of ticket news and stuff like that from the society point of view. But that's us. So it's you, mate.
So maybe a slight backstory. So I used to make all the equipment for the team and myself, but during lockdown, other people were interested in buying it, and we weren't really investigating. So I put together a brand called Skire, spelled SCIRE, and a website called skytech.co.uk, where the equipment which has come from our research, really, and from those data loggers and from the patterns we've seen in the paranormal. That's where all that came from. So that could be picked up from there. And I pretty much focus everything through skytech.co.uk. You can catch me on the other social media things all from there. Just built a new shop.
Oh,
have a Halloween sale. Go to check out and put Halloween there. You'll get 10% off. I'll probably keep that on there for a little while.
Excellent.
I'll be coming back for Christmas. Dad wants some more gadgets.
There we go. Perfect.
Blue, I'm guessing.
Yes, of course. Going back to the Portsmouth Football Club stuff. Yeah,
definitely doing a red and white one. It's annoying.
Oh, so he would love that.
Put some stripes through it.
Yeah.
That will really wind him up.
And the only other question I think I had was, so when this goes out around Halloween, have you got anything that you want to plug in terms of upcoming events or schedules?
So we're starting. This is probably the busiest period of the year for us. We've still got a few tickets available actually. So I think this month we're the 14th. We're at the secret location. There's still tickets available for that, but I think that this will come out a little bit later than that. But we're always there. It's a local place. We're the only team that are able to investigate it. It will say private location, secret location on the side, but it will give you a real decent rundown of what it is. You can always message me and I'll tell you. It's just because the nature of the building now. We've just been promised that we're not allowed to give the name of the building out. They don't want every Tom, Dick or Harry, I guess, contacting them. But we've got Fort Purbrick coming up in November, and Burlesdon Brickworks coming up. So we're
December 2nd.
December the 2nd. So if anything sort of shows sold out, always give us a quick message because we have tickets sort of move around. People can come, people can't come. But there's about 6 events left for the rest of the year, but this is a real pivotal time because we start to build for next year. So you'll start to see sort of events happening from February onwards next year, and some big and exciting places coming next year. So
cool.
Can't wait.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Really enjoyed this episode.
It's been great. It's been good to speak out.
It's been good.
Good few hours.
It's just tip of the iceberg.
Maybe back for next year for a volume 2 of Southern Ghost Society.
Absolutely.
Maybe on location.
Because I don't know if we're ever going to beat this as a Halloween episode.
Possibly not.
On location, I think, next year.
Well, I'm not going to commit, but possibly.
I'll make him
We'll
do
see.
it. It's all good. But thank you.
No worries.
Thank you very
Thank you for inviting us.
It's been a pleasure.
And there we go. We've just bid farewell to our friends from Southern Ghost Society. Really good episode, Dan.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
I'm so pleased we had them on. And we've been talking about it for a couple of months now. And, you've done those tours or those investigations, and you come back and you shared them with me or on the Halloween episodes. And there's nothing better than getting actually the people that run it to kind of give you their experiences. And it was so good. And not that I was expecting it, but we didn't get the whole, oh, you'll be really scared at this situation, or go there because you'll get jump scares. I wasn't expecting it. I didn't get it, which was great, but it was more of a kind of respectful, and it really was in the nature of wanting to understand more, not for cheap thrills, and it's great.
Yeah, as I mentioned, they're non-profit. They want you to go there with an open mind. They want you to enjoy the experience. And do you know what? If you go away with nothing, at least you've tried.
No, definitely.
But yeah, love those boys. I mean, we might take them up on the offer of a live location.
I don't know. Dan's
pod.
giving me the eyes, and I did get the hard sell from the lads as they left it, but very kind. Maybe in a year we'll go out and we'll do a live recording. It's got to be very tame for me though, Dan. You've got to ease me in there because it'll be my first one. But never say never. But look, if any of our listeners are interested, or perhaps they have gone on a subsequent investigation and they want to share their experiences, look, don't wait until next year. Let us know if we have inspired you to go and find out what's out there. Then by all means, come back and let us know, because we're always keen to hear about your stories and your experiences.
Yeah, definitely. It's a lot of fun.
If you say so, Dan.
Yeah. But Alex, we've got. This is a bit odd. So this is sort of recorded ahead of time.
It is
pre-recorded. So we're in September, but thinking ahead. So we've got November, December.
Yep.
We'll probably do a film review of the Marvels.
We will. Yeah, that comes out early November, right?
Yep. Possibly Loki season 2.
If that lands, should do.
I think it's next. I mean, at the time of recording, it's next week. I think it
so
drops.
Yeah, we'll probably wrap up.
Possibly, maybe. We're not sure about Loki yet. To be honest, nothing's ever really set in stone on the topic, apart from our annual specials, which be Christmas speech.
Christmas time, we are like clockwork. Yeah, so we've got our Christmas speech. So Dan will be dressing up as a king again, as he was this year, this year, and we'll have an alternative Christmas Day message.
And for Christmas this year, we're going to do something slightly different. We're going to do the OTT Awards.
Yeah, so this is a brainchild of Dan's, but every year we tend to talk about what's a Christmas movie, what isn't, our favourites, your favourite Christmas movies. So yeah, we're going to be doing the awards, what's our favourite episode, what's gotten this, what's gotten that, and it's a really good way to just kind of retrospectively look back at our year. And we've had quite a lot of episodes actually this year.
Yeah.
I didn't realise how much we've crammed in, so I think there's going to be some good contenders.
I've drawn up a good list, so favourite best film, and then it'll be like a runner-up, for example, or TV series. It should be a good episode.
Yeah,
Quite
no, really looking forward to that one.
I'm not sure about gaming though. I've put gaming awards in there. I might have to pass it on to my brother, who's a bit more au fait and up together with
There's
it.
only 2 in the running, and one hasn't even been released yet. But it's Starfield or Spider-Man 2.
Oh, good choices.
It's gotta be.
Look forward to that one episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you want to get in contact,
Yeah.
we are on Facebook, X, Twitter,
Whatever you call it.
Instagram, TikTok, which is at On The Topic Podcast, and our email address is onthetopicpodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah, or we're on WordPress or YouTube. That is our website. It's ontopicpodcast.wordpress.com. Go and have a look and peruse our site. You've got our ugly mugs on there. You've got our bios. You've got a whole back catalogue. If you haven't got a podcast player of preference, you can stream it straight from there. Subscribe, and you can be notified when a new episode drops, as many of you do. Alternatively, you can go to YouTube. We are now on YouTube, so all you've got to do is search for OTT GITS, which of course, as you know, listener, is OTT Get in the Sea, or search On Topic Podcast, subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and the moment it drops, you can have it in the background if you're working, or if you're doing the painting or the cooking. You don't have to use your smart speakers. You can put your laptop on or whatever device, and you can stream on YouTube too. And a lot of you do, in fact. A lot of our listeners from that podcast come across all the world now.
It's insane.
And India. So hello to our Indian listeners, and thank you for listening to and watching the videos. It's great to have you on board. But yeah, let us know where you are across the world. Leave us comments in the videos. Send us a message. Where are you listening from? It'd be great to hear from you. What are you up to?
Yeah. And if you're on Spotify, give us a rating out of 5 stars. Hopefully you give us 5. Helps with the algorithms.
Yes, please.
Brings more people in. So, yes, get involved.
Most
Sorry,
certainly.
Alex, before I go into the socials, I think I cut you off. Did I?
No, you did, Dad. It's fine.
Sure?
Well, I was only going to say, January we have our most anticipated.
Of course.
Don't know how you can forget that, but we have our most anticipated 2024.
Oh, it's always a good episode. One of my favourite annual episodes of the year.
It's going to be a
I
ding
think
dang delight.
all our annual episodes are my favourites.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
So yeah, for another week, I am probably going to go home with the lights on and contemplate life as we know it. I'm Alex.
And I'm going to go on Andy's website. I need to order my dad some more equipment. I've been Dan.
And we'll see you next time.